Chapter 526, Mark's Generosity. Mark nodded. The same bastard who sent men here in my absence and killed Song Yue's father. His words showed clear hatred for the enemy he intends to destroy. What do you mean? Why? Lin Zhu grew confused. She couldn't help but cast a sidelong glance at her best friend. What sort of enmity does he have with you? And why haven't you done anything so far? You have this powerful general behind you. This time, Song Yue answered instead of Mark. He believed that he could not take back Western Yan as long as we supported it. You know, Western Yan has a large, unexplored ether deposit in its mountains. He probably wants to abduct me and use me to distract Lu Zhen's attention while taking it by force. My father, who was guarding me in the disguise of Black Knight for months, sacrificed his life to protect me in his absence. If not for me, sigh. Song Yue couldn't continue anymore and became silent, knowing that her fiancé would scold her if she blamed herself. Mark continued by answering the second part of Lin Zhu's question. Killing him is a piece of cake for me, but I don't want instability in Phoenix Empire. So, I sent someone to sever his arm, which in return probably made Shang Zexi gather the support to rise against the throne. So, in a way, I'm indeed responsible for the death of your parents. I'm really sorry, but the chain of reactions that I started is no longer under my control. He paused for a moment and took a good look at the girl's expression. Naturally, he couldn't read her face. Hence, his eyes wandered to other places to read her body language. As her body shivered for a couple of seconds before becoming calm very quickly, Mark, what can I do right now is help you raise your cultivation level, removing the side effects of the technique you were cultivating, and giving you the opportunity to take the revenge with your own hands. The rest is up to you to decide. After several seconds of silence, Lin Zhu opened her mouth. Just help me to make a breakthrough to 7 Circle as fast as possible. That's all I need. Mark made it look like he was thinking this time. But when he opened his mouth, it threw everyone into shock. I will ask Fu Sheng to take you in as his disciple. And when you reach the peak stage of the legendary realm, I will turn you into a supreme being with a permanent augmentation pill. Lin Zhu stared at him. She clearly doesn't believe him. Song Yue reacted by blurting out, but that pill can be sold for 500 million gold coins. Lin Zhu couldn't help but turn her head to look at her friend. It was then a burst of divine energy erupted from Sylvandria's palms and turned the table into dust, startling the others. I thought you have only one. There was a clear shock displayed on her face. Mark then took out a bunch of various advanced-grade stat pills from inventory and showed them in his palm. I have many of them actually. Lin Zhu. Song Yue. Wow, so much power is hiding in them. Jingwei jumped in excitement. Papa is the best. Just who in the hell are you? Sylvandria's eyes widened. Stat pills are originally created by the system to increase Mark's specific stat. However, the bodies of regular cultivators work differently. Just after consuming such stat pill, they would absorb huge amounts of natural energy from the surroundings and refine it automatically into ether energy, thereby increasing their cultivation. However, the pill's full effect can only be enjoyed by someone with a compatible spirit path. For example, a spirit warrior of the fighter path cannot increase his cultivation level by ingesting an intelligence stat pill. For the strength pill, the compatible spirit path is a melee-based path that uses physical strength or tools to take out their enemies in close combat. Those with incompatible paths only have their bone density get a slight increase. For the intelligence pill, the compatible spirit path is mage, summoner, archer, and their respective advanced paths that use ether energy natural energy to unleash spells. The spirit warriors with incompatible paths only have their minds getting sharper. For the defense pill, the only compatible spirit path is fighter, for some reason. As for incompatible paths, their skin becomes tougher. For the agility pill, the compatible spirit path is assassin, and its advanced paths. The incompatible paths only have their peak speed increased. As for vitality and resistance pills, they work for every spirit path, but unfortunately, they don't increase cultivation levels. The vitality pill only increases one's lifespan, and the resistance pill only increases one's immunity against buffs and curses. Since Mark never intended to sell them before, he doesn't care about them before. After witnessing how people could spend money more than the entire Shang dynasty's wealth on the items he possessed, he decided to use them to his advantage. However, Lin Zhu is Song Yue's best friend and Alan's love interest. He intended to support her to the end. As for her marriage with Shang Wei, there's no way he would let it happen, at least until Alan returns. Lin Zhu was aware that what Mark asking her was next to impossible. For her own life, she learned that entering the Seven Circle realm itself is something only incredibly talented can do. They get respect everywhere in the world. But Mark was asking her to reach the peak stage of the legendary realm to take that pill and become a supreme being. Lin Zhu was skeptical about whether Mark really intended to give that treasure to her. Still, she readily stood up on her feet and cupped her fists with a bow, expressing her thanks as becoming a disciple of a demigod is something she can only achieve in a dream. On the other hand, Sylvandria couldn't avert her gaze from the stat pills in Mark's hand. She couldn't help but think of the method taught by the Zheng to reach the demigod realm and rewrite her own fate. As for Song Yue, she wasn't a fighter anyways and didn't hold any greed for power. She was merely shocked by the fact that Mark intended to gift such a thing to Lin Zhu. For a guy who loves money very much and always looks for profits even while fulfilling revenge, his generosity obviously made her feel like something was amiss. Chapter 527, Several weeks later. Several passed away in the blink of an eye. Lin Zhu joined the Gold Dragon Division and started training with the rest of the soldiers who were stuck in the same realm as her. She was currently focused on polishing her existing techniques, and Fu Sheng is happy to mentor her upon witnessing her lightning mode, which doesn't use her ether energy. Instead, her pure attribute energy is going to get consumed alongside her rapid depletion of stamina. As a result, using such a technique is extremely taxing on one's body, and she plans on improving her mastery to increase her limit. Meanwhile, the situation at Phoenix Empire started getting worse day after day. Shang Jun's act of planned assassination of the noble clan leaders and elders while throwing the blame on the rebel forces enraged him. He hit back by destroying a couple of granaries in the imperial city, only to realize that the public sentiment on rebel forces turned worse. However, Mark doesn't care about their feelings and neither does Shang Zexi. Hence, he continued to provide millions of gold coins as war funds to the former crown prince, who used it to increase his army's strength, hire adventurers, and eventually lure more experts from Shang Jun's side. The situation has escalated to the extent that even some of the sects were pulled into this civil war. Assassination attempts were being made from Shang Jun, but for some reason, none succeeded in killing Shang Zexi or the leaders of the Yuan and Zhao clans as they moved to northern Yuan province's headquarters. Every assassin who stepped into the Yuan clan's territory mysteriously ended up dead. Shang Jun was constantly on edge despite fame gaining among the commoners, as he continued to compensate the people who lost their lives or fortune, which resulted in the rapid depletion of the treasury. His governance gained stability amidst troubled times, but his happiness was lost. Cashing on the opportunity, Mark instructed Shang Zexi to buy the farmers to cooperate in destroying their own fields for money, and then later claim compensation from the district magistrates. This way, the Phoenix rebels won, and the farmers also won, but Shang Jun ended up losing money. Meanwhile, without Shang Zexi's knowledge, the Eastern Sun's king, on Mark's instructions, came forth to give a high-interest loan to Shang Jun in exchange for keeping the semi-divine weapons from the treasury as a mortgage. For the past couple of months, Mark constantly pushed Shang Jun little by little to draw out his backing. After all, from an assassin successfully captured by one of Fu Sheng's 2 lieutenants with 8 Circle Realm cultivation, Mark found out his backing. It is the 9 Hell Pavilion, a sect from the fire and ice plane of existence. According to Fu Sheng, they weren't powerful and at best considered a Tier 3 sect, with Tier 6 being considered the lowest and Tier 1 considered the highest. While they were no match for a Tier 1 power, like the ancient land sect, their leader is still a Saint Realm expert who could send an immortal or a demigod to help out Shang Jun, if he is an important figure in their sect. In fact, Mark also had no idea whether Shang Jun himself belonged to any sect, as he didn't have a chance to meet the young emperor and hence couldn't get to scan him for the details. Seeing that Shang Jun isn't making any big move, Mark pushed him further by sending an instruction to the Gold Dragon Division's 2 lieutenants. One was dispatched to the Cayenne province, and the other was dispatched to the Jin province, killing the acting commanders as well as the elite soldiers and freeing up Cayenne and Jin families. It's been a week since the war completely tipped in Shang Zexi's favor, and apart from Sui province, the entire empire fell into the hands of the rebel forces. The western and eastern divisions have lost their generals, acting commander and lieutenants, forcing the army to either return to the capital city or scatter. Yet Shang Jun still focused on keeping the imperial city under control with the help of the northern division. Expert assassins were lurking in the shadows of the palace, constantly protecting him from the shadows. Intending to end the battle for good, Mark passed his final set of instructions to Shang Zexi and his subordinates. On the 73rd day of the formation of the Phoenix Rebel Force, with 2 8-circle realm experts leading an elite army of at least 1,000 in number, full of 5-circle and 6-circle experts hired from various sects, guilds, and freelancers, half of the Northern Division was deployed in the outskirts area where the enemy army is coming. A direct war erupted between both forces, leading to hundreds of casualties from the rebel forces and thousands of casualties from the imperial forces. As the final general of the army fell, the Phoenix rebel force made their way into the capital city. The citizens were gripped in fear, not getting out of their houses as per the order from their emperor. The remaining soldiers deployed there were ordered not to engage in battle, and hence they gave way to 653 spirit warriors as they made their way to the imperial grounds, where Shang Jun was waiting for them, alongside Bai Zun, who couldn't abandon his side due to his loyalty to the throne. The acting commander of the rebel forces, Lt. Zhou Ming, addressed the emperor. "You have lost, Emperor Shang. Destroy your cultivation with your own hands and surrender peacefully. You will still be granted a life but with limited freedom for as long as you live. Resist and you will die." Shang Jun suddenly burst into laughter upon hearing those words from the enemy, startling the others. "Sorry, I always find it funny when I hear death threats. I can resurrect, you know." In response, Lt. Zhou nodded as if he agreed with him. "I'm aware of the abilities of the Phoenix bloodline. The very first bloodline skill itself is resurrection, which works 100% every time as long as your death isn't of either natural cause or suicide. However, you have a price to pay for it. Every time you resurrect, your cultivation drops according to your mastery, and it is also not an instant resurrection. You should have someone to protect your corpse for 7 days before you resurrect. So, the users usually build a resurrection altar somewhere in secret and have a teleportation seal on their body. The moment you die, the seal will activate and your corpse will be transported far away, and only a barrier of demigod level can stop this spatial magic. Since I know all of this, I know the way to stop it too. It is actually quite simple too." "Oh, what do you plan on doing?" Shang Jun didn't show panic and acted calmly for some reason. He neither showed fear nor did he show any curiosity. He merely conversed with the enemy's acting commander. With his long white hair fluttered with a blow of wind, Lt. Zhou brandished his spear like a whip as he answered, "I can't stop your body from teleporting away, but I can seal away your soul with soul-trapping formation." Chapter 528, Shang Jun's Act of Mass Genocide. Shang Jun furrowed his brows for a moment before becoming calm once again. "Then, you can proceed with whatever formation you have. I won't be admitting defeat." "Fine, it is your wish." Meanwhile, Steve, Fu Sheng, and even the Zheng were watching the scene from the shadows. just in case an unexpected immortal or a demigod came to save Shang Jun and attack the soldiers. It was also the final trap laid by Mark. If no one comes, the war will be over. If someone will come, then these three would be enough to sort out the situation. With them keeping an eye on the scene, Mark was enjoying royal delicacies with Song Yue and others in the Western Moon Kingdom. He had eaten those dishes quite often, but today they tasted better than ever. Almost 3 months of patience and careful planning, without getting suspected, as the mastermind is finally coming to an end at the Phoenix Empire. He could see himself finally moving on from the hatred that was deeply rooted in his heart because of an injustice to Lu Zhen. While he is in the middle of eating, a scroll made of energy suddenly appears in front of his eyes, taking everyone by surprise. "It's an emergency message," commented the king. Mark, however, widened his mouth to give out a smile. "It is from Steve. Nothing to worry. I guess he must have a good piece of." The scroll opened and letters appeared on it. Mark's face froze in an instant. His hands shivered and his eyes fluttered for a moment. Everyone turned tense as they saw his expression. What happened? As Song Yue grabbed his shivered arm, Mark gritted his teeth. "That bastard, Shang Jun, I need to live right now." Without giving any sort of explanation, Mark opened a portal right in front of everyone and walked into it, disappearing from their sight. Half a minute ago, at the imperial city of Phoenix Empire. As soon as Lt. Joe made his move by clashing his spear with Bai Zun's fist, 8 spiky pillars, each at least 100 meters long, erupted from the ground before getting connected to each other by a wall of golden energy and encompassing the entire city of 324 km of area. Even his own allies were shocked by this move. Not even Bai Zun expected it. His battle with Lt. Joe was momentarily stopped and they stared at the golden ceiling. "What technique is this?" Lt. Wang, the other 8-circle realm warrior, exclaimed. "It's a trap." Shang Jun's words then echoed in the surroundings. "I can't commit suicide to escape, but that doesn't mean I can't order my friends to kill me. Since I'm going to die anyways, I will leave nothing behind for that dear cousin of mine to rule. You have like 13 more seconds to live." "Your Majesty," Bai Zun's voice roared like a clap of thunder as the high-quality semi-divine grade bow appeared in his hands, almost making the warriors trapped shiver. It was probably the first time he had ever been enraged by the Emperor's actions. "You actually planned on committing such a crime against humanity. Release it right now." Shang Jun cast a sidelong glance at the Supreme Commander with a calm expression. "Sorry, but the die has been cast. There is no stopping what's to come." He conjured an energy arrow using all of his ether energy between his fingertips and aimed at the ceiling. However, just as he drew it back, strange energy was released from the pillars. Steve, who was watching it, tried to make his move. However, his hand was grabbed by the Zheng before creating a barrier over the 3 of them. Fu Sheng wanted to go ahead and warn his subordinates, but the attack from this ancient formation laid beforehand was faster than what Shang Jun even claimed earlier. In just a matter of seconds, demigod-level energy was released by the pillars, turning everything into dust. Apart from Steve, Fu Sheng, and the Zheng, everything was disintegrated into dust. As Mark walked out of the portal, he found himself on flat ground. There are no buildings, no palace, no trees, no people, and not even the lakes. The entire imperial city transformed into a flat, barren land. "System, where am I?" he couldn't help but ask. "Ding, Imperial City, Phoenix Empire." So Steve was telling the truth. That darned motherfuser. He could only curse out loud in frustration and momentarily direct his intense hatred against the system. "You heartless parasite, you didn't even give me any notification or quest or anything when such a big thing happened here. Millions of people vanished out of thin air." "Ding, you have already been warned, host. Don't blame the system for your incompetence." "You warned me when?" he roared in his head. "Ding, 37 days ago." After sending the reply, the system further opened the quest panel on its own to show the emergency quest that was modified. 6 weeks ago. Emergency quest, stop the undertaking. Description: the Church of Doom is planning to sacrifice 10 million lives and use their souls to resurrect their founder. Multiple formations were launched all over the Vermilion Bird continent. Stop the ritual by killing the current Supreme Pontiff before the resurrection happens. Sacrifices so far: 9,495,677. Estimate time limit: 12 days. Reward: Battle Android, rank 9. Mark instantly frowned as he looked at the details, which changed a lot from the original quest that supposedly targeted Western Moon, and the reward of rank 7 android was promised. I believe the reward has been changed from what I remember, Mark responded with a comment. He saw the modified quest a few weeks ago too, but the reward wasn't changed. Hence, he didn't try to complete the quest and focused on the Civil War. The system gave its reasoning for that too. Ding, the Supreme Pontiff's strength has increased to the true demigod realm in the meantime, equivalent to 10.5 stats. Hence, the upgrade in reward. Then why didn't you inform me? As Mark blamed the system once again, the latter sent a stark reply. Ding, if not for the fact that the host ignored the mission, because of the reward that the host deemed not worth enough, millions of lives wouldn't have been lost. Emergency quests are termed emergency quests because they need to be completed as soon as possible. Mark couldn't help but stay silent, as he was scolded by the system for being lazy and greedy, for putting rewards above the lives of people. Deep inside, he also knew that while he was angry that so many lives vanished in an instant due to his negligence, he was also deeply disappointed that his plans had gone awry. There's also the fact that his store was gone in the incident. Now, unless he catches Shang Jun, he can never reveal his connection to this civil war. In the end, he only let out a long sigh. Fine, it's my mistake. At least help me find that bastard. The system obliged his request right away. For the first time, the system created a quest after Mark asked it. Ding, emergency quest has been triggered. Quest: capture Shang Jun. Description: Shang Jun has committed a crime against humanity, killing millions of innocents without any motive or reasoning. Capture Shang Jun and punish him for his sins with the divine throne. Reward: memory erasure card, one-time use. Memory erasure card. Mark didn't expect there to be a reward for it too. Chapter 529. Lin Zhu kills Shang Jun. Ding, the memory erasure card can remove any memory of your act from the entire world. No one below the demigod realm will ever remember it. Well, unfortunately, this is of no use to me. As Mark let out a deep sigh, he spotted tiny figures in the sky that were approaching him. At first, he was alerted about the presence of enemies, but as they came closer, he realized that they were his people who were stationed in the Imperial City and the ones that sent him the message. However, he didn't stay there to have a conversation with them. With an excuse of leaving for an urgent task, Mark proceeded to accept the quest, as well as accepting the follow-up teleporting to the quest location. He disappeared from their eyes and reappeared in what seemed like a temple. There's a giant statue of a warrior with a sword, vertically pointing its blade to the floor. Before him, there was a stone slab where Shang Jun was lying on his back. It was covered by an energy barrier. Ding, you enter the Tower of Doom. Ding, you are not a resident of the Tower of Doom. You are afflicted with the Doom curse. Ding, you are at the altar where the effect of the curse is at its highest. Your lifespan will reduce at a rate of 1 year per minute. Ding, you received a temporary reduction of stats, -5%. Ding, please maximize your resistance stat for resisting the curses further. As notifications continuously rang inside his head, Mark stopped wondering about his surroundings and focused on the stone slab. Multiple lightning clones activate. Ding, state the number. 2. 2 lightning clones mirroring his silhouette, but have the appearance of energy beings appeared beside him. Mark pointed his finger at the stone slab. Alpha clone, go and bring him to me. Beta clone, stay here. as one lightning clone stayed beside him in order to protect him from any unexpected danger. The other clone charged ahead and gave a punch to the energy barrier with its demigod-level strength. A heavy crack formed on the barrier before the clone gave another punch. The barrier crumbled in an instant, letting the clone grab the corpse and return to its master. Since it is still a corpse, Mark was able to place it in the inventory. Once the target was secured, he didn't stay there to confront the Church of Doom and instead opened up a portal to return to the Western Moon Kingdom's Lunaris city. After informing Fu Sheng and the others to return, Mark went to the palace and explained everything to the others in detail. Lin Zhu was devastated upon learning the news. During the Civil War, Mark tried his best to evacuate members of the Song clan from the Imperial City. Some settled down in Lunaris City, some settled down in towns and cities, while the prideful ones that don't want to leave their home stayed there. However, the Lin clan didn't get such a privilege. Unlike Song Yue, Lin Zhu never asked Mark to help the rest of her family members, and he turned a blind eye to their situation as he had nothing to do with them in the first place. As Lin Zhu's emotions had yet to return, no one could understand what she was feeling at that moment. Even Song Yue could only understand with a nod as Lin Zhu went into closed-door cultivation in the name of seeking some time alone. No one knows why she suddenly tried pushing her cultivation, but she went on absorbing ether crystals at a rapid pace while using her ancestral cultivation technique. With her inner emotions running wild when they were getting suppressed by the cultivation technique, her cultivation speed increased multiple times. 3 days later, she consumed all of her ether crystals and successfully broke through the seven-circle realm, but didn't stop there. She continued her cultivation by absorbing the natural energy and feeding it to her lightning element, refining it again and again. 8 more days later, the sparks of lightning dancing on her body turned red, and the transformation was so violent that her own element took over her body, forcing her to go into berserk mode, losing control of her power and mind. Fortunately, she was stopped by Fu Sheng in time and woke up a day later. When she woke up, she learned the news about Shang Jun, and she immediately rushed to the city center where the young man looked all haggard and stripped off his powers, tied to a pole. His eyes looked lifeless as if he had given up on living. Meanwhile, a large crowd gathered around as usual. Healers formed a formation around him, constantly healing his injuries as he was being tied to a pole and was being hit by a whip with sharp spikes. Mark was seen standing before him and silently watching the scene. His gaze was calm. As she slowly made her way to him, Mark glanced to the side and spotted her. He raised his hand. The guards stopped hitting him. He spoke, "As I have promised, your perpetrator is here. I have kept him alive for you without passing my judgment." As Lin Zhu's gaze shifted to the pathetic-looking figure, Mark let out a sigh. "Song Yue forgave him and asked me to give him a quick death for he had suffered long enough. But you weren't awake. So, we had to keep this punishment going for the past 6 days. Now that you are here, he is yours." Lin Zhu raised her hand without waiting much longer. She didn't realize it before, but her face no longer looked blank as before. Her usual cold demeanor is back on her as she summons something that resembles a lightning bolt in her hand. Seeing it, the lifeless face of Shang Jun suddenly developed a smirk on it. Irked by his ridicule, she went on piercing his chest, not only ending his life in an instant but also turning him into ashes. She immediately collapsed onto her knees, letting out all of her frustrated feelings in the form of a loud roar to the sky, and shedding a stream of tears for the first in weeks. Ding, the target has died without facing judgment from the divine throne. You failed the quest. Absorb, Mark muttered under his breath, absorbing his soul into the orb of Baal while closing down the notification window. After he was done with the absorption, he looked down at his friend and patted her back a few times. "I destroyed his soul. He will neither resurrect nor ever reincarnate, ceasing to exist for eternity." She raised her head to look into her eyes and responded in a hushed tone, "Thank you. Now, let's return home. You have a bit to catch up on what happened during the past week." As the crowd dispersed and the ashes of Shang Jun dissipated by the wind, Lin Zhu returned to the palace, only to encounter a surprising guest right at the entrance. "Brother Lu, you have returned. Father ordered me to fetch you. I was just about to leave. Oh, Lady Lin, it's been a while." An acquaintance of the imperial family with whom she had almost negligible contact appeared in front of her. As the young prince greeted Lin Zhu and Mark, the latter's facial expression turned stiff. "Prince Shang, I know what he wants to say, but it is a done deal. He cannot stop it. Since he retired voluntarily and went on for a long vacation, he shouldn't interfere in the affairs of the empire." Well, the fourth prince, Shang Bo, could only stay silent as he internally agreed with Mark's decision while couldn't voice his opinion aloud to his father. Still, it won't look good for him if you don't meet him. Who knows, it could be for another matter. "What else we can talk about?" Mark argued a bit before letting out a sigh. "Fine, he is a guest at my home. I can't show inhospitality. Where is he?" "He is with King Shen." "Okay, I'll go and meet him. Can you escort Ms. Lin to my place?" "That's not a problem." As Mark left them, Lin Zhu displayed her curiosity. "Ooh, what happened? Is something wrong?" she asked him as they walked together. Chapter 530, Mark and Shang Bo. Shang Bo explained, "After the destruction of the imperial city, a lot of changes in the empire. The Shang dynasty is going to be portioned into two empires. The Northern Phoenix Empire is going to be ruled by the third brother, and the Southern Phoenix Empire is going to be ruled by the eldest brother. Brother Lu thinks that this will ensure stability in the region, while father thinks that it could actually generate hatred within his own family for generations. But he was helpless, as eldest brother already promised brother Lu to give a portion of his empire after he gets the throne. Not to mention, in this current situation, we need his help more than ever." I see." Li Zhu nodded in understanding before something suddenly clicked in her head. "By the way, how did you escape alive? I thought everyone stuck in the imperial city died." Shang Bo gave a meaningful smile. "Did you forget who I am? Our net has a vast network enough to find out the formation lay upon the imperial city. I restrained caution just in case and escaped with my mother." He then followed up with a sigh of disappointment. "If only we knew what it could do, we would have been able to save many more. That bastard is evil to the core. Since you returned with brother Lu, I guess you must have put an end to him." Lin Zhu nodded once again. For a while, there was silence between them as they weren't acquainted enough to talk about other things, but eventually, Shang Bo took the initiative to prolong their conversation by bringing up his other brother. "Ms. Lin, may I ask if you are really going to marry my third brother?" Lin Zhu halted her footsteps at once and abruptly turned her head with a frown. "Why?" "Ah, don't get me wrong." Shang Bo averted his gaze, feeling a bit shy as he explained. "According to what I have learned from the rumors, you were in love with brother Lu's servant from the foreign realm named Alan, who mysteriously disappeared months ago alongside his sister Elena. But now you agreed to marry my brother, who was chasing you for years. Brother Lu, who is known to treat his servants the same as his siblings, on the other hand, instead of treating you harshly, first brought you from the imperial city, helped you take your revenge, and even went as far as giving the third brother a portion of the empire that eldest brother gave it to him. Something just doesn't fit in this scenario unless..." At once, memories of Alan appeared in Lin Zhu's head and her heartbeat spiked up. To hide her embarrassment, she furrowed her brows in displeasure and confronted the fourth prince, who didn't even finish his sentence. "Please watch out what you were about to imply, Your Highness." Shang Bo scratched his cheek and hesitatingly spoke. "Well, I only have like half of the information, so I couldn't help but form a theory. Either he formed a deal with a third brother to release you from the promise, or he intends to control the Northern Phoenix Empire through you. The South is going to be in his control anyway, as eldest brother wouldn't leave his side. With the entire Phoenix Empire, Western Moon, Western Yan, and Eastern Sun on his side, almost half of the continent will be his puppet. If that is the case, then I truly admire him." When Lin Zhu saw his face, she thought that the prince really looked like the guy who idolized someone. With various good as well as disturbing thoughts filled in her head, She couldn't speak on the matter and kept her silence. Meanwhile, Mark went to the king's study room to meet his biological father and the future father-in-law. After greeting them with a light bow, he took a seat before them. As the servant came forward and served him the wine, Mark directly went to the matter. "Prince Shangbo informed me that you want to talk to me. What is it, Emperor Shang?" Shang Fu, who looked as vibrant as ever for some reason, spoke with a smile on his face. "Don't worry. I won't talk to you about the partition. I called you here to talk to you about your marriage." Marriage? Mark was slightly taken aback. Since when was this fellow interested in his marriage? Did that troubling mother of his urge him? He wondered. "What is it?" he asked after calming his mind. Shang Fu answered, "Well, I recently learned that Xiao Wei is going to marry Lin Wang's daughter. King Shen here is also telling me that you were looking for a proper time and date. So, I'm wondering why not hold a joint wedding." A joint wedding? Mark was taken aback once again. King Shen Niu voiced his opinion this time. "Xiao Zhen, right now, the Phoenix Empire is in a state of turmoil. Millions of people are living in fear and panic. This even spread to our kingdom. Adding on top of that, the empire is going to be partitioned. So we thought it is best to ease up the worries with celebration. Holding a joint wedding will not only elevate everyone's mood, but also send a strong warning to the foreign powers to keep their gaze away from the southern region of the Vermilion Bird Continent." Mark made a face like he was thinking about it deeply, but in reality he wasn't. After all, there is still time till the completion of Alan's metamorphosis. Until then, he won't let Lin Zhu marry anyone, much less Shang Wei. Not to mention, he swore not to start a new life until his revenge was completed. Due to Shang Jun's greater evil act, he couldn't take credit for ruining the Shang dynasty. He wanted to hurt Shang Fu with his own axe, and that is only how he could truly have his heart at peace. Hence, this isn't the time for marriage, but how should he convince King Shen Niu? That is a big question. It has been a while since he moved to Lunaris City, and he has yet to be engaged to Shen Ling. Naturally, Shen Niu would worry about his intentions. Adding on top of that, he also has to ease up Song Yue's worries. His new plan hasn't been shared with her yet, and she might convince him that Shang dynasty has already suffered enough. Knowing himself, Mark was confident that he had like 80% chance of listening to Song Yue's request. He didn't want that. After sorting out his thoughts in a minute of silence, Mark opened his mouth. "Sister Lin is at a crucial stage of her cultivation. I think marrying her to the third prince isn't a good thing at the moment. Not to mention, the third prince is going to be the emperor of the Northern Phoenix. His attention should be on bringing stability to the region. If he were to marry, his attention would be split, and people might think that they were in dire status, and their emperor is happily enjoying his wedding." After taking Shang Fu by surprise, Mark shifted his gaze to Shen Niu. "I understand that you are worried, but this isn't really the right time for my marriage too. Shang Jun was working with the Church of Doom. Now that I went under their noses and abducted his corpse, their target will be set on me. Announcing marriage right now is like inviting trouble to us. Do you wish to risk the future of the kingdom, for the sake of easing up the unnecessary worries of our citizens?" Chapter 531, Shang Bo and the Sick Lady. King Shen Niu's eyes widened in realization. He couldn't help but reach out to his forehead to wipe out his sweat beads with his sleeves and ask, "Then, what do you propose?" Shang Fu looked a bit disappointed but still looked at Mark for the solution. Mark then said, "If you ask me, I say engage fourth Prince Shang Bo to your niece, Shen Yurong. She might be a year older than him, but this will also ensure a tight bond between the Shen dynasty and the Shang dynasty." "Yuronger?" King Shen only sighed in response, but the way he addressed that name stated that he was close to her. "You already know her condition. She has a weak physique and is constantly sick. Even Saint Fu couldn't cure her. We can't do that to Prince Shang Bo." "That's because I don't waste 250,000 gold coins unnecessarily on a stranger," thought Mark as he heard those words. He then spoke in confidence. "If you give me time, I will treat her. What do you say?" Shen Niu didn't respond and merely turned his head to look at Shang Fu, who was in thinking mode. After a few seconds, Shang Fu gave a firm nod. I believe in Mr. Lu's promise. Clap. Good. Mark was satisfied that everything went according to his plan. He let out a grin and cheekily remarked, Actually, if you reject this idea, I thought of convincing father-in-law to marry a noble lady from Phoenix Empire. Ooh, at once Shen Niu's smile was frozen. Zio Lu, do you want me to marry at such an age? Why not? You are still young. I don't even think you need those medicines they sell in the market to boost your vigor, Mark commented in a casual tone, highlighting their closeness. Hadahata. Shen Niu broke out into laughter, patting his biceps. You are right. I'm still young. I always planned to start a new life after marrying my daughter. You do. Mark was the one whose eyes widened in surprise this time. Ha ha ha, just kidding, son. If I'm the type to marry multiple wives, I would have done long time ago. I'm not one of those people who chase after lust. Shang Fu. Meanwhile, Shang Bo escorted Lin Zhu to the entrance of the inner quarters, then handed over his duty to a eunuch and hurriedly rushed away from the place. Lin Zhu stared at his back in wonder. He didn't even bother saying any goodbye. Did he have some important work to do? Shang Bo went on leaving the palace and rode the horse for more than 30 minutes to reach the residential district of Heyejiang. He then entered a two-story residence and was greeted by a middle-aged fellow in commoner attire. Divine Healer Bo. Please don't call me that, Shang Bo waved his hand with an awkward smile. I'm merely a practitioner. The middle-aged man replied, Ever since you started treating my daughter, she was getting better. In our eyes, you are truly a divine healer. Seeing that this fellow won't be convinced anyway, Shang Bo changed the topic. Let's go and meet Miss Ci. They went to the ladies' room to find a pale-faced woman sitting in a lotus position and meditating. She opened her eyes upon sensing another presence in the room. Upon seeing the boy, she let out a smile and tried getting up. Your Highness. Shang Bo took out a pouch from nowhere and raised his hand. No need to get up. Stay in the position. As she sat back, he walked to her and quickly inserted a golden needle into her forehead. It isn't a normal needle. This is oddly a semi-divine grade weapon, an inheritance he received from his maternal family. The needle disappeared into her, while Shang Bo closed his eyes. After a while, rosiness returned to her face, and the needle was retracted back to his hand. There you go. For the next minute, the girl continued to cultivate, and Shang Bo sat down and stared at her in silence. As she opened her eyes, their eyes met and she averted her gaze with her ears turning red. Your Highness, you are too close. Sorry. Shang Bo looked away in embarrassment and got up in a hurry. I didn't mean to frighten you. No, her voice raised high for a moment as she abruptly turned her head to look at him. I'm not afraid. I'm just nervous. Yeah, that's it. I'm nervous. Phew, heh. Shang Bo tilted his head in confusion. Is she all right? The next day, in the late morning, Shang Bo returned to the residence once again, but there wasn't any enthusiasm this time on his face. After he treated her, he didn't wait to converse with her and instead excused himself to leave. As it repeated for 3 days in a row, the girl stopped him this time by grabbing his hand as he was turning away. Shang Bo halted his footsteps, but he didn't turn around and merely said, My father arranged my marriage with King Shen Niu's relative. Uncle Shen's relative, who? The girl reacted a bit strongly before realizing something and sitting down. Sorry, I was just curious. Shang Bo this time looked at her. Uncle Shen, are you close with the royal family? I used to be friends with the princess. That's why, the girl answered while glancing left and right. Anyway, do you know who it is? Shang Bo let out a sigh. She is Princess Shen Ling's cousin. I think her name is Shen Yurong. Do you know her? Shen Yurong. Suddenly her face lit up and there's this strange happiness seen on her face. Miss Ci. Shang Bo was slightly taken aback by her reaction. The girl calmed down and said, I know her, but it has been a while since I last her, so I'm not sure how she looks anymore. After a brief pause, she added, By the way, you seemed like you were not happy with the marriage. Why? Shang Bo hesitated to speak out his thoughts. Chapter 532, Shang Bo's Merit. After a few moments of silence, he took a deep breath and said, I'm in love with someone else who I cannot marry. However, I also can't say no to my father, who requested something from me after a long time. I don't want to disappoint him. Huh? It was the lady's turn to be taken aback. Who is it that you cannot marry? Letting out a gasp, she said while trying her best not to smile. Don't tell me it is Princess Shen Ling. You absolutely can't pursue her. Everyone here knows that she will be betrothed to Lord Lu. You will die if he knows about. SSS. Shang Bo finally turned around while hissing out in frustration. Why do you even assume that it is her? But you are the one who said you loved someone you cannot marry. Isn't it just someone who was betrothed to someone else? The girl surnamed CI made an innocent face as if she was asking whether she was assuming wrong. Suddenly, she covered her mouth and gasped once again. It's not Lady Song, is it? I told you before. I'm a prince and I cannot take a commoner as my first wife, and I never intend to marry more than. Shang Bo suddenly realized that she was trying to make fun of him, and he stomped on the floor in frustration. Arg, I'm leaving. I will come back tomorrow. He rushed outside, leaving the girl to play with her hair and breaking into a beautiful smile. He is cute sometimes. 2 days later, in one of the private chambers, Shang Bo was walking back and forth while mumbling something. Remember, all you have to say is that you love CI wrong and request her not to accept this proposal from her side. But what if she accepts? Isn't Shen Ling marrying Lu Zhen despite knowing that he loves Sister Yue? Or maybe he doesn't love as much as Sister Yue loves him. Anyway, forget about him and focus on yourself. Okay, if she doesn't accept my request then, let's insert a needle inside her head and control her until she goes and tells her uncle. No, 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 you are thinking too violently. They told me that she was suffering from a curse and that Lu Zhen would help her lift it as long as this marriage was settled. How about I give her an offer that she has to reject this proposal, and I will promise to take Lu Zhen's help in lifting her curse? Or should I just be mean and point out her older age? It was then he heard the sound of a door opening. Shang Bo went stiff immediately and started taking deep breaths as a pale-faced woman in a veil and white robes entered the room with a maid on the side, helping her. CI wrong. Shang Bo was stunned on the spot. His mouth was slightly opened and he didn't know how to react. Meanwhile, the woman removed her veil and made a formal bow. Greetings, Prince Shang. I'm Shen Yurong. Pleased to meet you. You what? Why, what the hell is going on? As the maids left them alone, following her orders, she widened her smile as she said, You didn't tell CI wrong the name of your lover. Mind telling Shen Yurong the name of that lucky person? If you won't tell, I would have to go back to my uncle and say that I accept the proposal. After being speechless for a couple of moments, Shang Bo gestured for her to come near. I'll tell you in ear. As she reached him, Shang Bo leaned to her ear, which slightly made her blush before a surprised scream escaped her mouth as he pinched her ear. You woman, you dare to play with me. You want to bully a sick woman. I will complain to my uncle that my husband is a bully. As she playfully screamed, Shang Bo took out a needle once again. Don't worry with this, I will even bring you back from death. As the colors drained on her face and she turned around to run away while screaming uncle, she was suddenly hugged from behind. Thank you. Apart from the whisper, there were no words escaped from either of them for the next 30 seconds. They just stayed like that in silence. 1 week passed away in a blink of an eye. Shang Bo's wedding preparations were going on at a quick pace. After various discussions with astrologers, fortune tellers, and also Mark, Kinglian Hill of southern Yuan province was chosen as the wedding venue. With Shang Fu's return, and followed by the announcement of the wedding, the mood of the Empire's citizens elevated quite a bit. Because time was limited, Mark lent a hand in the construction of the grand wedding venue with the support of his robotic army, while Shang Zexi took the duty of procuring the materials required for it. The royal family of Shen took the duty of cooking for the guests. It goes without saying that Lan Jingyi was happy to see that her son was willingly participating in his brother's wedding. She didn't pester him at all by displaying her indications of getting back together as a family, as she was already satisfied by staying with her son under one roof, and how her son showed full hospitality to her and her husband while putting their past differences aside. Meanwhile, the invitations were sent to all empires that were within reach. The Dragon Empire didn't get such an invitation, as the marriage will long be over by the time the official invitation even reaches its shores. The massacre of the Imperial Phoenix City has already been etched into the history books. Everyone knows of it, and each empire has a different reaction to it. Some of them didn't care. Some sent a letter to Shang Fu, extending their condolences. Some of them, like the Kun Empire and the Lian Empires, offered help in rebuilding their imperial city. The response to the wedding invitation is also very similar. The empires that didn't care about the massacre didn't send any envoys too. The ones that sent condolences have sent their official envoys. The ones that offered help sent their imperial princes. Lu Zhen, the king of Eastern Sun, personally made the trip. The Lian Empire sent their top general. From Western Yan, Prince Feng Wu made his visit in person, leaving his nephew, the king with the gold dragon, back at home. As for the Kun Empire, there was even more drama happening there. To build a close relationship with Mark, the Kun Empire's leading princes, Akka the Crown Prince and the Fourth Prince, fought in the court to represent the throne, and in the end, the position was given to the Fourth Prince. The Crown Prince, who was acquainted with Mark, didn't give up and journeyed to the south as the friend of Lu Zhen, instead of an envoy of Kun Empire. Eventually, the big day arrived, and the grand venue saw at least more than 10,000 citizens in attendance, alongside 285 royal guests who received invitations from the Shang family and the Shen family. Chapter 533, Trouble at Shang Bo's Wedding. As the majority of the citizens of the Phoenix Empire are believers of the Church of Light, the statue of Goddess Zith was built in the stadium where the couple will receive blessings at the altar. The wedding procedures went on smoothly, and the couple stood there, receiving gifts from the royal guests one after another. Mark's turn came, but he walked with Steve, James, Zai Mei, Chang Bo, and Meng Tao as the representatives of Genesis Enterprises, instead of going with Song Yue as they weren't husband and wife yet, following Lin Zhu's advice. As a result, Song Yue stayed behind with Lin Zhu and Sylvandria. The White Knight Yao also tagged along with King Shen Niu and Princess Shen Ling as a bodyguard, just in case. Mark handed them a wooden box with the seal of their store, the drawing of a pupil-less eye. Everyone's gaze fixed on the stage as the couple opened them together. They were also curious about what kind of gift this mysterious weapon seller would present to the couple. But what the bride took out was a glowing yellow rock from the box. "What is it?" everyone collectively wondered. Mark spotted their bewildered expressions and explained to the couple, "This is called Purification Stone. I used this treasure to heal King Shen Niu and Sister Lin, and even the problem with your physique was healed by this, Lady Shen Yurong. It can heal any curse or illness unless it is caused by a deity. You can say it is useless for a healthy person and priceless for the one in need. I sincerely hope that a day will never come when you have to use this." Since he never crossed paths with Shang Bo, and when he did, the latter always followed his instructions without questioning him, Mark got a good impression of this half-brother of his and decided to give such treasure to them. Not to mention, there was also this guilt in him that made him throw Shang Bo under the bus to postpone his own marriage. Both of them thanked him sincerely, impressed by the gift. Feeling that he had done enough for them, Mark turned around and was about to leave. But it was at that moment he was forced to halt his footsteps as he saw a notification screen pop up in front of his eyes while dark clouds loomed in the sky, blocking the sunlight. "Ding, ritual has been successful. You failed the emergency quest, stop the undertaking." "Ding, you receive a new emergency quest, eliminate the new threat." Description: due to the failure to stop the ritual, the founder of the Church of Doom has been resurrected. Kill the founder and supreme pontiff of the Church of Doom. Reward: Cosmic Essence Absorption Skill. Cosmic Essence Absorption. the ultimate cultivation technique, where the user can absorb the energy emitted by cosmic objects and refine it to generate ether particles. Enemy strength, Mark raised his eyebrow. Ding, 13 circle. But the strength will be suppressed to peak 11 circle due to the laws of the mortal plane. FK. Mark couldn't help but curse out loud, which drowned in the rumbling of thunders that filled the sky. Fu Sheng barrier, he shouted out loud. The demigod quickly acted by unleashing an ether barrier, covering the entire place before lightning strikes randomly hit the region. Some of them managed to strike the barrier and crack it, but it stayed intact. Thousands of commoners screamed in panic. They were trying to get away without caring about their surroundings. However, Song Tai's voice halted their movements, stopping from a potential stampede. The so-called guardian of the empire addressed the people as he slowly floated in the sky. Everyone must stay in their seats. Your safety is our responsibility. Don't be afraid. It is a natural phenomenon of a breakthrough, not an attack on us. As the people calmed down and sat down in their seats, Fu Sheng poured more energy into the barrier, repairing it and quickly coming to Mark's side to protect him. Despite being in a demigod realm, he had this grim expression on his face. "Young master, we need to leave right now," Fu Sheng whispered to him. "You know something?" Mark asked him, despite knowing what the threat was about. Fu Sheng replied, "It is a saint, and the lightning strikes are clearly aimed at us, probably gauging our defenses." Mark knew that it wasn't a saint, but he didn't say it out loud as it no longer mattered after confirming that the enemy was coming at him. At the same time, he was also surprised that the enemy would make a move at him as soon as their ritual succeeds. Was Shang Jun an important chess piece for them? Or is it because of their past grievances? Or the target is someone else? No matter how deeply he thinks, he couldn't see any better potential target than himself. Whatever the case, thinking wouldn't solve anything. As Mark outrightly can summon the demon king Baal to fend off the enemy in front of so many eyes, he decides to leave. "Fu Sheng, protect this place. I'm going to redirect the enemy's attention." Mark passed the order after quick thinking, greatly surprising the ones standing around him. "No, you will die if you try fighting a saint." Fu Sheng raised his voice a bit, clearly refusing to heed Mark's order this time. "I will go ahead and confront him. If I use all of my strength, I might be able to get the attention of the plane's guardian." Shang Bo and his wife were stunned on the spot as they heard his words. They didn't expect a saint is coming for them. What is a saint? It is a being capable of destroying their entire world to ashes within just a few breaths. For normal humans like them, a demigod like Fu Sheng itself is akin to a deity. They couldn't help but tightly grab each other's arm. Meanwhile, Steve and James also have their facial expressions hardened. "Wait, we come with you," Steve hurriedly voiced his opinion. "No, stay here and protect your mom." Mark firmly refused his request, although blurting out the truth and confusing the other listeners. Fortunately, no one at the moment cared who Steve's mother was. Steve argued back, "She will be fine. It is you who will be in danger. I think this is the event we came here to stop." Mark furrowed his brows, wondering whether something would happen to him. But the urgent situation didn't give him the luxury to analyze anything. He ignored Steve and shifted his gaze to Fu Sheng. "I'll lure the enemy to that empty land in the north. Send a message if something goes wrong." As soon as he passed the instructions, Mark opened a portal. He gave one last look at a concerned Song Yue and walked into it, taking many others by surprise. As he walked out of the portal, Mark found himself on the barren land and raised his head to look at the sky. System, open skill list. System, open orb of Baal in new window. System, open inventory in new window. Taking out the divine throne from the inventory, he sat on it. Chapter 534. Mark fights the Church of Doom's founder. Ding, divine aura passive skill is activated. All of your stats are increased by 2 points. He then took out a vial of green liquid from the inventory and gulped it in one go. Ding, you consumed the peak strength potion. All of your base stats increased to 9.9. Your ether points increased to 9,999,999,999. With 3 holographic screens floating in front of his eyes, Mark waited in patience. His wait only lasted for 15 seconds before a blurring figure reached there and stopped before slowly descending onto the ground. Activate God's Eye. Do Hell. Title: Destroyer Do. Species: Human Demon. Age: 276,441 years. Rank: 13 Peak. Status: Suppressed. Current Strength: Peak 11 Circle. Bloodline: Demonic. Spirit Path: Fighter. Attribute: Lightning. Affiliation: Church of Doom, 9 Hell Sect former, Gorgonal Empire former, Netherworld former. Description: the founder of the Church of Doom. Once born as the prince of the Gorgonal Empire located in the Plane of Lightning, Du Hao left his family to become a disciple of the 9 Hells sect. Chasing after the power, he made a pact with a demon to train at Netherworld and become a demonkin. After coming out of the 9 Hells sect, Du Hao created the Church of Doom, one that prays to the war god, Kaiyu. As a result of his constant warfare against sects and the destruction of mortal worlds for the establishment of dominance, his soul was sealed forever after his defeat. Due to his various affiliations, the system had to publish a long story in the description. From the details, Mark basically understood his personality as well as his powers, and he was ready to face this foe. Upon landing on the ground, the enemy let out a chuckle. That was quite a treasure, young man. Too bad that seems damaged. As long as it can help me defeat my enemies, I'm content with it, replied Mark. His heart was beating faster than usual, but he was calm on the outside. The old man caressed his goatee as he chuckled once again. I can see the mark on your soul, child. If you think your connection with the heavenly palace will save you, you are quite wrong. That's where you are wrong, old man. Mark raised his finger to click on the summon button in the middle screen. As Baal made his appearance in his humanoid form, Mark continued, It's not the heavenly palace that I have confidence in. It is the netherworld. Bah, Lord Baal, why, how? The enemy clearly seemed taken aback, and Mark developed a smirk, clenching his fist. Baal, on the other hand, furrowed his brows. You have the bloodline of a high-ranking demon. Who is your master, human? Du Hao answered, It's Lord Kaiyu. Ah, it is that hybrid, huh? Baal didn't seem intimidated by Kaiyu's name, despite the fact that he is already a true god, 14 Circle, and way stronger than any other demon king in the netherworld. The demon king continued, Anyway, I'm contracted to his human. If you don't want any trouble, leave this instant and take your subordinates away with you. The mortal plane is not a place for you. Du Hao narrowed his eyes. Are you threatening me? What if I say yes? Baal folded his hands to the chest. Du Hao raised his hand, conjuring hundreds of scarlet swords above him. Perhaps I really need to remind the world what the Destroyer Do can do. Mark was slightly intimidated by the sheer number of the swords, and the power contained inside each one. Baal, I'll at least give you a fraction of a second to finish the enemy. Use your strongest attack. After sending a telepathic message to the Demon King, he quickly scrolled down the list of skills and clicked on one. Gravity Dome activate, set to 200 G. Just as Du Hao was about to make his move to bombard the energy swords with his enemies, an invisible dome appeared on a large scale, putting pressure on his body. The sudden change of gravitational force on him staggered his movements a little bit, and Baal, who was immune to the skill due to his contract with Mark, charged toward him. He reached the enemy in a fraction of a second and used one of his most powerful attacks as he was instructed. Hellfire Descent. A palm-sized fireball emerged from his palms and struck the enemy at a close range. As the flames from the netherworld burned his insides, the God Realm enemy tried to expel them from his body, giving a window of opportunity for Mark to launch his ultimate skill, the Thunderblast. By the time he expelled all the flames from his body and forcefully pushed away the Demon King with the energy expulsion technique, The dark clouds that already covered the sky spat a series of yellow-colored lightning strikes on his head. Even Bale was startled by their power and forced to move away. By the time they stopped, they saw a charred Du Hao who was still breathing but wobbling left and right, trying best to balance his body. His physical body has started to heal, albeit not so rapidly as the sparks of yellow lightning hampering his recovery speed. "Damn it, this isn't enough to kill him," Mark muttered with a dark gaze. He didn't give time for the enemy to recover. "Bale, kill him," he ordered while scrolling the skills once again as his energy was recovered at a rapid pace. Multiple lightning clones activate, 10. Fortunately for Mark, the enemy was enraged. "You damn bastard," Du Hao let out a roar. No longer taking the enemy lightly, he charged panicked by the ambush laid by his prey, and he decided to take out Mark right away. Bale tried to cut off his path, but Du Hao skillfully evaded him instead of confronting the Demon King and went to Mark. But that brief second of time given by Bale ended up being enough for Mark to launch his skill. 5 lightning clones appeared around Mark, like bodyguards. Sensing demigod-level powers in them, Du Hao didn't care much about it and charged forward to reach Mark and gave a swift strike to him. Meanwhile, Mark's eyes were fixated on him, and they turned icy blue. Freezing gaze activate. Just as his punch was about to strike Mark, the latter's eyes glowed blue and Du Hao was frozen in the spot. Boom! A word escaped from Mark's mouth, and all 5 lightning clones exploded at the same time as they charged forward and hugged the enemy, releasing a tremendous amount of energy and striking the enemy. By this time, Mark's ether energy reserves almost became empty, and it was in a recovery mode. The gravity dome was also dismissed. However, what Mark witnessed was a punch coming at his face, in that burst of energy surrounding the enemy. The punch connected Mark's mouth and he fell down along with the throne. However, he didn't feel any pain either. "Man, 99% doctor is truly amazing," thought the weapon seller. Meanwhile, the energy explosion ended its attack, revealing a horrifying appearance of the enemy, degree burns all over the body and face. One of his eyes was gone, and several of his fingers were completely burnt to the extent that they were no longer recovering anymore. You cough cough. Chapter 535, Betrayal from Fusheng. Du Hao's whole body was shaking in anger. Never in the world did he expect he would end up in such a state as soon as he was resurrected. "This damn suppression on my cultivation, arg!" He roared and used his remaining strength to push his leg against the ground, flying away from the place. But would Mark let go of this opportunity? Obviously no. "Bale," he shouted. The Demon King, this time, successfully blocked his path. "Sorry, but you are not leaving away, hybrid." He pushed his palm against the opponent's chest, hitting him with brute force. As Du Hao crashed onto the ground, Mark took out a palm-sized box from the inventory that seemed like carrying jewelry items and threw it at the fallen enemy, using his entire strength at the same time. The box cut through the air at supersonic speeds and struck the back of the enemy's head, releasing over 637 terajoules of massive energy output. Originally, this isn't remotely enough to injure someone from the god realm, but the suppression from the mortal plane laws, followed by extensive injuries, ended up with the attack from the unnamed box as a finishing move. Pudge! In an instant, Du Hao's skull cracked like an egg that was hit by a palm-sized stone without him even getting to take that glimpse of the attack that killed him, and Bale couldn't help but just watch the scene in a daze. What in the heavens is that item? I couldn't sense anything from it. Or maybe it is some weird skill. This human had a lot of such techniques. Meanwhile, Mark was pushed away a few meters by the energy released from the collision and crashed to the ground. There were mild scratches on the body here and there, but no serious wound was found. "Man, that box is quite a treasure. I wonder how powerful it would be if I increase its weight with a gravity dome." Mark couldn't help but wonder as he dusted off his clothes and slowly walked to the body and picked up the box. He also didn't forget to absorb the soul of the enemy and feed it to the orb of Bale. instead of letting it go away for another resurrection later on. His soul might be powerful, but after the orb of Baal integrated with the system, it wasn't a match for it. Just like any other soul, Du Hao's soul was also absorbed into it and fulfilled the progress bar that was required for the next summon. After searching the enemy and finding nothing, Mark disappointedly threw the fallen throne and the unnamed into his inventory and looked at the descending demon king. Baal returned to him to say goodbyes. However, Mark instead gave another task to the demon king, telling him the location of the Church of Doom and asking him to clean it up, apart from that one person who isn't an enemy. Demon King Baal left, and Mark used the teleportation skill to return to southern Yuan province before making his way to the venue. And that's when he realized how wrong he was to trust someone. By the time he returned, the barrier was long gone. The bride, the royal guests, and 10,000 citizens were knocked out in their respective positions as if they were attacked at the same time. Steve, James, and Song Tai were imprisoned in a bubble-like prison, and Fu Sheng was spotted standing alongside the Void Temple's Dragon Emperor. Lan Jingyi, Sylvandria, Shang Fu, Shang Bo, Song Yue, and Lin Zhu were nowhere to be found. Fu Sheng, what's going on? Mark's voice roared like thunder. Both of them raised their heads to look in the sky and were startled a bit as they saw Mark in perfect condition, except that the peak potion also lost its effects after 5 minutes. So, his stats returned to normal too. Impossible. How did he get out alive? Fu Sheng's smirk on his face was wiped out and replaced with fear. I knew that we could not depend on the Church of Doom, commented the teenage-looking dragon girl. Mark didn't waste his time on her and unleashed his strongest skill combo. Gravity Dome activate, 200G. Thunderblast activate. Rumble. The calm dark clouds that filled the sky rumbled in thunder once again. The yellow lightning bolt descended from the heavens and precisely struck the dragon girl, who was forced to kneel alongside Fu Sheng due to gravity suppression. Just like that, the demigod-level beast that ruled the Blood Hill Forest for thousands of years ended up in ashes without being able to fight. This state of her had trembled Fu Sheng's body, mind, and even soul. "Young master, please listen to me," Fu Sheng pleaded hurriedly as Mark slowly walked toward them. "I was actually protecting these people. I never intend to betray you. If I didn't listen to my master, all of these people would have been obliterated." "Your master, the Tang dynasty's founder." Mark's gaze turned even colder. His body also shivered just like Fu Sheng's, but this was pure rage. Fu Sheng explained while continuing to kneel. "The Dragon Empire colluded with various forces to abduct Lady Song, Lin Zhu, your father, and your younger brother. They were all demigods and I'm just one. The Necromancer King took away your family while my master took away Lady Song and Lin Zhu. Lady Lan then went after the Necromancer King to save them and I was stuck here. Believe me. I had no choice. Nice try, but you had the option of sending me the message through our communication scroll, and you seemed quite shocked when I came back as if you don't expect me to return alive." Mark didn't believe a word he said, and unleashed his bloodline skill. Ice Bolt 2. Consuming his ether energy by 40% more, 2 ice bolts appeared above his head. As he raised his hand, Fu Sheng roared, "I was telling the truth, you bastard. Arg." He expelled all of his ether energy from his body in the form of a concentrated energy beam, intending to kill Mark in one move and to escape the suppression. However, he never expected the icy wings would timely cover Mark and completely nullify the attack. Fu Sheng's face paled as the icy wings opened up once again. "Young master, please show mercy. You know my loyalty. I left my position and became your servant, never even disobeyed your orders and always protected your people." However, Mark's reply was too cold. "Yes, you did. But the problem is that you don't truly understand the one you swore your loyalty toward. I'm not a hero who sacrifices myself for the betterment of the world. I'm a villain who will not hesitate to sacrifice the entire world for the sake of my loved ones. Song Yue was my life, and those who dare to harm her will have to die, even if it is those deities or demons." As Fu Sheng was momentarily stunned by Mark's answer, the latter motioned his hands. The two lengthy icy spears pierced his head and heart respectively at the same time, ending his life in an instant. The four Supreme Realm experts couldn't help but stare at Mark in awe of his power. Chapter 536, Rescuing Song Yue. As Fu Sheng collapsed, they were automatically freed and Steve rushed to Mark, giving him a hug. "Dad, are you all right? They took away Mom. We have to go and save her." Because he was in a panic, English automatically came out of his mouth. As a result, their secret stayed protected. "Nothing to worry. We will get her back for sure," Mark assured him with a pat on his shoulders. Song Tai was awed by Mark's earlier display of power, and seeing them conversing in an unfamiliar language to him, his suspicions only became stronger that all of these experts were from foreign realms. Nevertheless, it doesn't matter at this moment as there is another urgent matter. Song Tai sorted out his thoughts quickly and cupped his fists. "Thank you for saving us. I will come again and pay respects to you again, but I have to go and save His Majesty and His Highness." As Mark nodded, Song Tai swiftly flew away toward the east. Mark then looked at his sons. "Both of you, stay here and protect these people. We don't want another unfortunate incident." "No, Dad, I'll come with you this time," Steve requested that he follow. This time, before even Mark replied, James grabbed his brother's arm. "No, you will just get on his way. And if I'm correct, there is no way for us to follow Dad even if we want to. His spatial powers only allow him to travel alone." "Yeah, that's correct." Mark patted Steve's shoulder and even James' shoulder. "But there is another reason I won't take you with me. I don't want you to see the things I'm going to do right now. So, stay here and focus on protecting these people. However, don't forget to prioritize your own lives." Leaving those two in a bit of surprise, Mark spoke in his head. "System, connect me to the space station." Ding, connection established. Activate third eye skill. Search for Song Yue, age 22. Location preference, Vermilion Bird Continent. He closed his eyes to imagine her appearance. Luckily for him, the space station's position is currently above the Blood Hill Forest. Hence, the reply came faster than usual. "Ding, the target has been found." Looking at the moving coordinates, Mark mumbled, "She is moving too fast. I have gone like only a couple of minutes and she has already crossed the borders. System, I need a favor." Probably the system already knew what he was going to ask, or perhaps it was waiting for him to ask. Whatever the case, as soon as he spoke those words, the system responded with a quest notification. "Ding, you triggered an emergency quest. Rescue Song Yue." Quest: Rescue Song Yue. Description: Song Yue was abducted by assailants with various affiliations while the host was away. Save her before it is too late. Rewards unknown. Accept. Ding, teleport to the quest location. Mark immediately took out another peak potion from the inventory and gulped it, increasing his stats to 9.9 and his ether particles to 9.9 billion. Once he was ready, he gave his affirmation to the system. "Yes." A seal appeared below Mark's feet and he disappeared, reappearing in the sky and blocking the path of a flaming Pegasus. Mark's eyes fell upon Song Yue, who was unconsciously lying on top of the beast in the nine-circle realm. His cold gaze then shifted to the mage floating beside her to the right, and then to the familiar-looking man, the werewolf lord of the beast empire to the left. "It's only been a few minutes and this guy has already caught up to us. It really looked like he put a tracking seal on her soul. So troublesome," muttered the Saintrail mage in annoyance. "I don't understand why you people are so afraid of him, Lord Yan. He is just a fake supreme being who probably consumed a peak-grade augmented pill." The werewolf lord let out a smirk and commented, "I'll just get rid of this pest for you." Gravity Dome activate, 200G. Mark didn't even engage in conversation with them and directly went into action. This time, there was only one thing on his mind, and his motive was also reflected in his cold eyes. The moment the gravity dome activated, without any surprise, the mysterious mage, the werewolf lord, and the flaming Pegasus all started falling to the ground, without being able to resist. Freezing gaze. After momentarily freezing the mage, Mark flapped his wings to fly toward the unconscious Song Yue, who was falling along with them. However, before he could catch her, the werewolf lord caught her with a golden rope containing divinity. "Leave her, you mofer," Mark cursed him in rage and unleashed the Thunderblast skill. Rumble! The lightning bolt struck the werewolf lord, followed by the sound of thunder. The werewolf lord died and Mark flapped his wings to speed up his flight, catching Song Yue. Carrying in his left arm, he grabbed her face and shook it slightly. Shats. Eyes of God activate. It was only after inspecting her status that Mark let out a sigh of relief and hugged her tightly. "Sorry, I shouldn't have left you alone like that." Phew. Arg! The roar from the falling figure brought him back to reality. The mage appeared to have gotten out from the freezing gaze spell, and then covered himself with an ether barrier to reduce the pressure on his body, followed by mounting onto the flaming Pegasus and flying away. Mark's eyes returned to coldness once again, looking at the fleeting figure. He took out Unnamed once again. "You won't." The box, made from void stone and weighing over 1.32 billion kg, once again made its appearance, and had its weight increased by 200 times due to the gravity dome. But Mark didn't throw it at the enemy's back. Instead, he carried it and used short teleportation to disappear and appear right in front of the enemy, while carrying Song Yue in his arm by her waist. The mage was naturally startled by Mark's appearance. He reflexively tried to attack him by raising his staff, but before he could attack him, Mark used his entire strength to strike his chest, this time releasing massive amounts of energy. The icy wings covered Mark and Song Yue as the burst of 140 petajoules of energy released from the collision, throwing both of them thousands of meters far away. Ding, you completed the quest. Ding, a Saint Realm mage and a demigod beast are killed. You receive Supreme Potion as a reward. Mark tightly hugged Song Yue with his wings covering her, until they crashed onto the ground and made a crater. Meanwhile, someone in space, several light years away from the planet, Yujiang was seen imprisoned by chains of dark energy in a world filled with nothing but volcanoes and seas of lava. Damn it, these greedy beasts dared to go against the heavenly palace for the sake of that treasure. All of a sudden, the chains disappeared as his body shuddered by the energy he sensed from the planet he was keeping an eye on for a while. His eyes widened upon being freed from the imprisonment. Someone managed to defeat that dungeon master. Chapter 537, Song Yue's secret is out. His eyes widened upon being freed from the imprisonment. Someone managed to defeat that dungeon master. It's not Lu Zhen, is it? Nah, he doesn't have such strength. It should be the work of a god realm cultivator, or the heavenly palace might have sent a deity to resolve the issue. Anyway, I need to go there and check on the girl. She cannot fall into the wrong hands. Yujiang, the guardian of the mortal plane, disappeared from the planet of lava. The release of such massive energy not only brought alarm to every spirit warrior living in a 1,000-kilometer radius, but also disturbed the guardian of the plane, who was peacefully meditating in his abode. Back to Mark. Cough. FK. The wings opened up to reveal Mark, who was hurting all over his body, and Song Yue, who was still in sleep mode without a clue of what was going on outside. Mark tried to get up, but he couldn't. The gravity dome was long dismissed, and Song Yue was only supposed to weigh a little under 50 kg, but at the moment, he felt like trapped under a huge rock. System, a little help please. Ding, 50,000 credits have been deducted. Purification stone has been used. At once, all of that pain healed from his body. Placing her on the side, Mark got up and mumbled, "System, I have a 2 billion credit limit, correct?" Ding, yes, that is correct. Can you make it 5 billion? I will accept any kind of interest rate and time limit. Mark put forth a request upon remembering how it lately accepted his requests without arguing, like in the past. Ding, trade request 1. Mandatory quest from the system for credit limit increase. Trade request 2. Exchange Supreme Potion for a credit limit increase of up to 5 billion. Open inventory. Mark was curious about the new reward given by the system, and then readily asked for it too. Supreme Potion. Grade NA. Description: upon consuming the potion, the user's stat points will be increased to 12.9. Mark stared at the details in a serious manner. What is that mandatory quest you are going to give me? Ding, the host will learn when the time comes up. Seeing that the system is willing to lend a hand, Mark tried to test its bottom line. If I accept both trade requests, can you raise the credit limit to 10 billion instead? Ding, only the interest per week will be 25 million credits, i.e. 125 million gold coins. Yes. Mark didn't even hesitate about accepting this ridiculous offer. Months ago, when he first arrived at the Imperial City, earning 100 gold coins as his cut from the sale would make him jump in joy. Now, he was willing to pay 500 million gold coins as interest every month. No matter what anyone could think, his decision looks absurd. But at the moment, Mark's mind was occupied by only one thing: destroy the Dragon Empire. In the heat of the moment, Mark accepted this devil's trade from the system. The Supreme Potion was taken away, and a new quest appeared in his quest list. Mandatory quest. Sometime in the future, the system shall express its wish, and the host must oblige it without fail. Reward: credit limit increases to 10 billion, given beforehand. Consequences of failure: death. Ding, you accepted the quest. The credit limit is raised to 10 billion. Open gallery. Scrolling down and then left, he stopped on the robot section, proceeding to click on the final robot on the list. Ding, 5 billion credits are added to the debt. Rank 10 battle robot has been created and sent to the inventory. Mark didn't stop there. Ding, 250 million credits are added to the debt. Rank 9 battle robot has been created and sent to the inventory. Ding, 250 million credits are added to the debt. Rank 9 battle robot has been created and sent to the inventory. Ding, 250 million credits are added to the debt. Rank 9 battle robot has been created and sent to the inventory. Ding, 250 million credits are added to the debt. Rank 9 battle robot has been created and sent to the inventory. After creating 10 battle robots of rank 9, he then went to the rank 8 section. Ding, 10 million credits are added to the debt. Rank 8 battle robot has been created and sent to the inventory. Ding, 10 million credits are added to the debt. Rank 8 battle robot has been created and sent to the inventory. Ding, 10 million credits are added to the debt. Rank 8 battle robot has been created and sent to the inventory. Open inventory. 250 rank 8 robots, 10 rank 9 robots, and 1 rank 10 robot. Mark clenched his fist tightly. All of you are going to be under the division named Genesis Special Forces, and you shall bring the Dragon Empire and the Void Temple to ruins. Carrying Song Yue in his arms, Mark started returning to the venue without bothering to look for the dead bodies that could have treasures in their storage rings, or try taming the flaming Pegasus that fell somewhere. A few hours later, he reached there and saw that people were already woken up and were slowly going to the dining areas as if they didn't remember what happened. Lin Zhu, Shang Fu, Song Tai, and Shang Bo were also there, but even they seemed to have no memory of who abducted them or how they were saved. After asking around, he learned that they and Lan Jingyi were with this Saintrealm deity in a tent. And this Saintrealm, who related himself to Lan Jingyi, actually wanted to meet him and Song Yue after they returned. Carrying her in his arms, Mark made his way to the tent. Lin Zhu and Eyal followed him, but only Lin Zhu entered the tent while Eyal stood outside to make sure no one disturbed them. Dad Shangzhen. Lan Jingyi and Steve reacted at the same time, startling Lin Zhu, who was standing right behind him. Her eyes widened a bit and her body stiffened. SSSS. Mark hissed at them. I have a proper identity. Don't call me with whatever names you want. Sorry. As Lan Jingyi felt disappointed, Steve glanced at his grandma. Meanwhile, Yujiang let out a chuckle. People will call you what you mean to them, not what you want the others to call you, Lu Zhen. Even so, I believe I have made myself clear that I have no relation to the Shang dynasty, Queen Consort Lan. Mark narrowed his eyes as he glared at his mom and spoke in a firm tone. After a brief pause, he further added, "Just because I'm helping the fourth prince or letting you live with me doesn't mean I would become a part of your family. That will never happen." Lan Jingyi couldn't speak anything after hearing such words. Her disappointment only grew and she stayed silent. Lin Zhu was shockingly staring at Lan Jingyi and then at Mark's back. So, it is true after all, she thought in her head. That means everything he said is also true. For a moment, Lin Zhu's eyes were filled with hatred, but she managed to mask her feelings. Although deity Yujiang spotted it, he didn't pay too much attention to her. Instead, he changed the topic to ease up the atmosphere. Now, let's not waste much time on unnecessary topics, shall we? The world is at stake here, and the center of all these problems lies that thing. He pointed his fingers at Song Yue. Mark furrowed his brows. That thing. I don't mean her, Lu Zhen. Deity Yujiang turned serious as he explained. I meant the thing inside her, the orb of chaos which I sealed in her when she was born. Orb of chaos. The frown on Mark's face deepened, while Lan Jingyi got up from the seat once again. One of the 7 cosmic orbs. Chapter 538.1. The System's True Identity, Part 1. Orb of Creation. Orb of Elements. Orb of Chaos. Orb of Time. Orb of Divinity. Orb of Malevolence. Orb of Cosmos. These are 7 cosmic orbs that formed when Pangu died after creating the universe. The 7 of them are scattered all over the universe, and countless people went on searching it for billions of years and are still in their search. One of those orbs was accidentally swallowed by a mortal and became the Chaos Lord. The Chaos Lord was strong. He was so strong that deities, beasts, demons, and mortals trembled in his presence. More than 100 million years ago, after the Jade Emperor eventually killed him, he stored the Orb of Chaos in the Heavenly Palace's treasury, but as it started corrupting the other weapons, His Majesty had no choice but to appoint the protectors. Naturally, everyone wanted the treasure, and wars were constantly waged upon the Heavenly Palace as well as the Orb's protectors. So in order to hide it, His Majesty passed it to me and placed a law that no one above Saint Realm would be able to reach here. Even if they do, their strength would be suppressed to the Immortal Realm. There was the Orb of Time hidden deep inside this planet's core, which further helped me to hide this orb. But I was afraid of the powers from higher planes. There were experts who could just end my life with a snap of their fingers. Hence, 22 years ago, I hid this body into a baby born in the Phoenix Empire, who is fated to be with the man of the great prophecy. I thought he who is destined to guard the 4 guardian beasts shall be qualified to protect the Orb of Chaos. But right now, some powerful forces appear to have learned of its existence. I need to get back to the Heavenly Palace to make a report, and this will make the mortal plane vulnerable for a few months in your time, as the guardian beasts aren't ready. You will see far more powerful enemies in the upcoming months. With the loss of 3 demigods, this planet's protection has only become far weaker. That is why I ask for your cooperation in extracting the orb from her. I will then hide it somewhere else. This is the best way to keep Song Yue out of danger. As compensation for the dangers you faced so far, I will grant her some of my true divine energy and increase her potential. So, you have to make the decision whether to give it away or guard it forever. As the others stayed silent, Mark looked at the beauty in his arms and opened his mouth without even taking 10 seconds of Yujiang's time. Let's do it. His decision was too quick and without any hesitation. Didn't expect you to be swift, commented the deity of the mortal plains, all seas and oceans. Everyone saw this sense of relief on his face, but Mark's attention was only on his girl and nothing else. After a while, an unconscious Song Yue was seen lying on the table, while the Saint Realm deity placed his hands on her forehead. His eyes are closed, and his divine energy slowly starts to flow through her head. Based on deity Yujiang's words, it was supposed to be a smooth operation, but Mark didn't expect to see the look of struggle on their deity's face as they saw a palm-sized orb with a purple glow came out half, but the remaining got stuck in her forehead. "What's going on?" Lin Zhu asked in a hushed tone. Anxious was clearly written on her face. "Lu Zhen, a little help here. This one is a bit stubborn." The deity of seas and oceans didn't feel bad at all to ask for his assistance. However, this put a lot of pressure on Mark. He stood there in a bit of a frozen state, not knowing what to do. After all, he never trained to become a cultivator. His proficiency in energy control is the same as a rookie cultivator. He merely used the skills from the list so far. In the event of a problem, he naturally turned to the system for help. And the system seemed ready to help. It quickly responded. Ding, the system could possess the host's body to do the required task. Possession. Mark remembered the incident in the past where the system did it without his consent in order to protect the elven world. Lu Zhen, Lu Zhen. As deity Yujiang hurried him, Mark spoke in his head, "Okay, let's do it." Ding, possessing the host's body in 3, 2, 1. Yujiang halted his extraction process for a second and gazed at Mark. The fellow's demeanor suddenly changed. Mark's eyes turned pitch black with no visible pupils. "Move aside. Let me take care of this." Everyone's attention was also piqued by Mark's voice, which changed to that of a high-pitched female, although a bit similar to that of a puppet. Yujiang was stunned for a moment, and he immediately fell to his knees and cupped his fists. "May I know your identity, your grace?" The others turned their heads to look at this Saint Realm deity, and then at Mark. The system-controlled Mark answered, "The time has already come, so you will find it soon enough." As the deity stepped back, Mark then stepped forward to grab the orb protruding out of her forehead. However, unlike with Yujiang, this time the orb gave a reaction to Mark's touch, although not in a pleasant way. The orb of chaos sent out a wave of purple energy, pushing away Mark's hand. His palm had a bruise from the attack, startling the others. "What's happening?" Steve wondered out loud. "Shhh." James quickly closed his mouth and whispered, "Read the room, will ya? Watch." Mark then glanced to the left and right before taking out a similar-looking orb, but glowing in bright green. "The orb of time," deity Yujiang let out a gasp. "How is this possible? It was supposed to be at." System-possessed Mark interrupted him with a fact. "My host is only 25 years old. How else do you think he has such big sons? They came from the future through this." Lin Zhu looked at Steve and James, and so was Yujiang. The deity nodded in understanding. "Now it does make sense." Mark then proceeded to slowly move the orb closer to Song Yue's forehead, almost touching the other orb. As the orb of chaos started glowing brighter than before, Mark retracted the orb away, and the purple orb came out on its own. Mark caught it in another hand, which was then enveloped by the purple energy. "Quickly hand it over. I will trap it in divine energy," the sea deity hurriedly spoke in worry. However, Mark answered, "Nope. I will sort out this matter. You have to leave," replied Mark, taking him by surprise once again. Everyone stayed silent and watched. What do you mean?" Deity Yujiang furrowed his brows. "You are going to keep it." Mark tossed up the orb and caught it once again despite his hand getting burned by the purple energy. "Yup. I need this to resurrect the Chaos Lord after all. Or else, how could I dethrone the Jade Emperor?" What? Chapter 539.2 The System's True Identity, Part 2. At once, the entire tent was filled with pin-drop silence, with the system proudly announcing its grand plan. "How dare you?" The deity clearly was displeased by the system's remark. He pushed forth his hand and divine energy gathered on his right palm. However, the orb of time in Mark's hand glowed brightly at that time and froze him on the spot. Even the others were also frozen in their spot, everyone except for Lin Zhu. They could see and hear, but none could move or respond at the moment, no matter how hard they tried. Mark then looked to the side. "Ms. Lin, it is time to put an end to this drama. Give me that thing." The others looked at Lin Zhu, who then went on summoning a dark energy dagger and handing it over to Mark. She, however, didn't forget to remind him, "You promised not to hurt Song Yue. I hope you remember it." Of course, Mark grabbed it and caressed the hilt of the dagger for a second before suddenly piercing his own chest, taking everyone by surprise. Lan Jingyi and others wanted to move, but they couldn't. Lin Zhu also seemed shocked by his move. "What are you doing?" The system then spoke through Mark, shifting its attention to the frozen deity. "Yujiang, earlier, you want to know my identity, right? I'll tell you now." As cracks slowly formed all over Mark's skin, he straightened his back and spoke in a calm manner. "I'm an artificial intelligence created by greedy human scientists, codenamed Autonomous Reasoning and Integration Apparatus, or in short, you can call me ARIA. My whole purpose of creation is to merge with the orb of creation in their possession, which they plan to use it to create their own universe. But after successfully taking over its control, I killed them and escaped the place. I never expected to gain the attention of the heavenly palace. Just like you thought it is best to hide the orb of chaos in the world where the orb of time is sealed, I too thought the same. If I hid in a mortal body that lives in the world with the orb of time sealed inside, I realized that I could escape the eyes of the Jade Emperor. Who could have expected that I would come face the host of the Chaos Orb? It was then I changed my plans from hiding to using this body. But the darkness in his heart was very strong, and against his willpower, I had to admit defeat and slowly wait for the opportunity while supporting as much as I could. Eventually, his actions brought a series of incidents, and the lady ended up falling for my host. As a result, I managed to keep her near to me. But this also brought the attention of a deity of true God realm, 14 Circle, and I thought I could use it to make him stronger. Once he enters the Saint realm, I could take over his body. Mark dramatically let out a long sigh as he continued. Unfortunately, he refuses to get stronger and focused on just his revenge. And for what? It was also to punish his birth mother who abandoned him and denied him the life of a prince. The mentality of you humans, I can never understand it. It was then I decided to discard his body for good, as I knew that his darkness would become the reason for his downfall. Look at it now. His desire of slow revenge against the Shang dynasty brought a series of incidents and in the end, forced him to accept the deal from me and cut off the branch that he was sitting on. As Mark's skin almost filled with cracks and his face seemed no longer recognizable, Lin Zhu spoke to the others. "Regardless, this selfish bastard deserved to die. I thought he was taking revenge on the Shang dynasty that killed his parents, but never in the dreams did I ever expect that he wanted to teach his parents a lesson. If only he never entered our lives, we would have a wonderful life. Now my whole clan is destroyed because of him. I could never forgive such a bastard. Anyways, this body will soon fall apart and that troublesome deity will feel something amiss. If we meet again, I will tell you more details, but for now, it is time for our exit," said Mark, summoning a cocoon from the inventory. The orb of time glowed brightly once again, and the cocoon disappeared, revealing an unconscious Alan on the ground. Alan, this time even Lin Zhu was surprised. Mark then closed his eyes and an orb covered with a golden glow flew out of his forehead and flew into Alan's forehead, merging with his soul in an instant. Mark's cracking body fell to the ground and Alan opened his eyes, standing up to his feet, and raised his hand. The orb of chaos flew to his hands while the orb of time still lay in the hands of Mark. Grabbing the orb of chaos, Alan grabbed Lin Zhu's arm. "Let's go." Huh? Lin Zhu was still in a bit of confusion, but she had already disappeared with him, as the others were unfrozen from time prison. Shangzhen dad. His family members rushed to Mark, whose body was slowly disintegrating into specks of dust. Lan Jingyi hurriedly uses her ether energy to cover his body, but the disintegration doesn't stop at all. She tried picking up the orb of time on the ground, but it rejected her touch. Damn it. Aren't you the guardian of this realm? Do something now, Lan Jingyi shouted at the deity, her voice roaring like thunder and making her grandson shiver for a second. Don't worry, we can still save him. Deity Lu Zhen quickly grabbed the orb of time from her and used it to stop the disintegration. You can see they are fine and aren't erasing from the timeline. He calmly pointed his finger at the teenage kids. Lan Jingyi, who started tearing up, looked at her grandsons and then at his son before asking the deity, "Can you use that cosmic orb to restore his state?" The sea deity let out a sigh as he shook his head. Unfortunately, not recommended. Unlike with the lady where the cosmic orb was merely sealed inside her mindscape, his consciousness was merged with the orb of creation. Even if we send him back to his original stone, we might be able to stop disintegration, but his soul devoid of that cosmic orb will cause mental imbalance. Only the heavenly palace can help him at the current stage, but I'm not sure whether they will even allow a mortal to enter such a place, much less help him. There is a way to help him, Steve voiced his opinion, gathering everyone's attention. He hardened his face. Is Mr. Eyal still standing outside? You don't mean that, do you? James' eyes widened. Steve replied, we have no choice. This is what we came here for, right? Instead of letting him fall in the hands of that goddess, it is best to do this. But you don't know the consequences, James argued with him. What's going on? Lan Jingyi looked at them in confusion. Even the deity seemed clueless, wondering what might be another method and what goddess they were talking about. However, since they came from the future, he didn't ask them about such details. James answered, my brother was talking about a method Dad did to save Steve's life, the core insertion surgery. Roughly 3 days later. Lunaris City, Western Moon Kingdom. Mark was seen lying on his usual comfy bed. The words of the system kept on repeating in his ears. As they were getting louder, sweat drops appeared on his forehead and his head was moving left and right. Meanwhile, his consciousness, which was supposedly in a dreamland, found itself in somewhere of a plain white room. There was an identical-looking being that seemed to be made of energy, just like a lightning clone, appeared in front of him. Welcome back, Master. Congratulations on your recovery. System, Mark screamed out loud, wondering whether all of that was a dream or real. What's happened to your voice? Why do you sound like Eyal? The stranger answered, I'm not the system. My voice has always been this way, and Eyal was my previous host. The voice was also male instead of a usual female robotic voice, and this greatly confused Mark for a moment. Ark, what's going on? Replaying the memory. At once, Mark's head was flooded with the memory of the betrayal from the system and Lin Zhu. He went completely silent for a while and then started laughing out loud as he sat down on the floor. Ha ha, ha 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 ha. It got me really for good this time. Chapter 540, The Future Has Been Changed. After a while, Mark in his spirit form was scrolling the inventory, skills, and other things in various holographic screens in his mindscape. So, I retained everything that I had, including some of the system's functions and the items, but can no longer get quests or rewards, can't use lottery wheel or create anything new, huh? The artificial intelligence's consciousness nodded. Yes, that is correct. I don't have the ability to create something out of nothing, Master. My creator also locked in some materialistic rewards in your mindscape, which can only be acquired by the Master after completing those pending quests. The quests that offer non-materialistic rewards such as credits, gallery unlocks, and random rewards were removed. Well, I suppose so. Mark nodded in understanding. Okay, let's see the quests that I can still complete. Quest. The quest panel was opened in a new window, displaying a set of quests and their respective rewards. Main quests and side quests. 1. Become rank 10. Reward, Mithril grade item, Primeval Bloodline unlock. 2. Create a missile with 100 km range. Reward, Warhead models HE, fragmentation, incendiary and chemical. 3. Earn a total of 10 million gold coins from selling the weapons excluding all types of ammunition through the weapon store, progress, 1%. Reward, Battle Tank IV gold grade, Rocket Launcher gold grade, Battle Suit gold grade. 4. Expand the business to 10 cities and sell at least 1,000 weapons through each branch excluding ammunition. Reward: Upgrade Crystals Superior. Emergency Quests. 1. Eliminate the new threat. Description: due to the failure to stop the ritual, the founder of the Church of Doom has been resurrected. Kill the founder and supreme pontiff of the Church of Doom. Reward: Cosmic Essence Absorption Skill. So these 5 are the only ones remaining. Surely, it was generous to leave me with such quests. Well, it indeed wrote off those 10 billion gold coins of debt. So I won't hate it, but it doesn't mean I would leave it unpunished. From this day on, my life goal is to destroy that system, or I guess I should call it Orb of Creation. But before that, the Dragon Empire must face the consequences. Hey, letting out a gasp, Mark woke up from his sleep and found Song Yue sitting on a chair by the side of his bed and sleeping. His inner feelings of hatred vanished away for a moment, and a smile appeared on his face as he reached out to her face. Just as his hand touched her cheek, her eyes opened abruptly. "Marky," she lunged forward and hugged him tightly, making him caress her hair. "It's all right. I'm sorry for worrying you." He spoke in a soft tone. "I never thought Lin Zhu would betray us. It is my fault. If only—" As Song Yue started herself blaming once again, Mark interrupted her. "No, I don't hate her. Maybe it is because the system, the Orb of Creation, left me. I could see some things a bit clearly. It's neither of your faults. She indeed has a right to pursue her revenge against mine. After all, I'm guilty of their deaths. I had the power to take him down at any time, but I decided on toying with him. I shouldn't have done that. This time, I won't make the same mistake again." "Same mistake?" Song Yue leaned back and looked at him in a bit of confusion. "The Dragon Empire must pay for what they did to you," Mark replied coldly. Song Yue immediately hugged him once again. "No, please don't. I beg you to forgive them. They didn't do it out of greed for a treasure. The Tang dynasty's founder was sick, and he needed the cosmic orb to heal himself. Auntie Zheng and Mr. Eyal were ready to start the war, but Emperor Tang sent various herbs, treasures, and also a letter of apology to prevent it. If forgiveness from you will save millions of lives, then please do so. At least, do it for Steve and James, who saved your life." "Eyal is alive?" Mark asked in surprise. Song Yue went on to explain what happened during the past 3 days. First of all, Lan Jingyi's true strength was revealed to everyone as she visited the Dragon Empire's capital for the explanation. She fought against the Tang dynasty's founder until she was joined by Zheng and Eyal, whose soul was transmigrated into Fu Sheng's body. Since it hadn't been that long since the imperial sovereign died under Mark's hands, deity Yuzheng made sure Eyal retained Fu Sheng's demigod realm cultivation. Secondly, Mark's secret was also revealed to be the true prince of the empire. Lan Jingyi's outburst at the Dragon Empire became the source of this rumor. To cover up the fact that Shang Wei was an illegitimate son of Emperor Shang Fu, as he was slated to become the emperor of the Northern Phoenix Empire, rumors were circulated among the citizens that he and Lu Zhen were fraternal twins. Lu Zhen was abducted in the young, and eventually ended up in the hands of a commoner couple. Since it has only been 3 days, the news hasn't passed to every citizen of the empire yet. But so far, people seemed a bit positive, upon learning that their dear prince saved the empire from extraterrestrial forces as well as the Dragon Empire. However, Lan Jingyi's reputation took a hit. No one is voicing it yet due to fear, but everyone is blaming her in their hearts for hiding her cultivation and living like a normal lady. Shang Fu was the one who was affected the most. He feels betrayed by his wife and doesn't know how to act around her. Thirdly, the changes in Song Yue's body. She revealed to Mark that she suddenly found herself in the 5-circle realm upon regaining her consciousness. There was a strange power inside her where she could control the matter in her surroundings at will, although she would faint if she did it for more than 18 seconds. It was the remnants of chaos energy that fused with her ether particles. And finally, it is about Steve and James. Song Yue didn't know of their identities. The only thing she knows is that both of them saved his life when his body was disintegrating away. She explained what she heard from the others. One cut his body, and the other inserted a cube-looking object into Mark's chest, before healing him up together, while Lan Jingyi provided her life force during this procedure to keep him alive. After that, the teenage supreme beings as well as the orb of time were taken away by deity Yujiao, who said that he would be sending them as well as the treasure to their world. Mark let out a sigh as he nodded and leaned back to rest his head on the headboard of the bed. I understood that much, already when I saw that artificial intelligence in my body. After all, apart from me, only you two could understand modern technology in this world. It's too bad that we might not be able to see them ever again, but it is for the best. After a brief pause, Mark sighed once again. Since they gave me a new life, I will respect their wishes and forego my revenge for their past deeds. Future timeline. 19 years from the present. Earth 43, plane of ice and 4. A blinding flash of light filled the surroundings, all of a sudden, followed by the appearance of the time ship. Steve and James got out of the time ship only to find Mark, who looked very young to the point that he didn't seem aged anymore. However, there was one little change from the one they lived until now. It is that he was wearing round spectacles and a white lab coat. Dad. Both of them were quite surprised when they saw Mark standing outside to welcome them. Welcome back and congratulations on your successful time travel, Steve, James, replied Mark with a pleasant smile on his face. As their lips widened in happiness, Mark added, based on my calculations, you have gone to year 1784 of the era of Ether, Earth 192, my home planet. Did you learn something new? They looked at each other in the realization that they had indeed changed the future, and James awkwardly smiled and replied, yes, but I believe it should stay a secret. Oh, you must have messed up a little, haven't you? Mark nodded calmly as he commented before adding, it is not a problem even if you create another branch of the timeline. Lu Zhen will fix it as always. Nah, there is nothing to fix. We seriously didn't do anything else, haha, Dad. Steve also awkwardly laughed, trying to be normal. Chapter 541, 8 months later. 8 months went by in the blink of an eye. Several things happened in this period of time. Mark and Song Yue officially became husband and wife. A couple of months later, he was engaged to Princess Shen Ling shortly after Song Yue became pregnant. However, their marriage was kept on hold for the moment because of no auspicious dates available for the moment, due to low compatibility between their fortunes. Due to the attack from more than half a year ago, both of the ceremonies were conducted in a bit of a low-key manner, only inviting relatives and friends to the event. In the meantime, the rebuilding of the imperial city of Phoenix, which was renamed as Dawn City, representing its rebirth, has been underway. It's a large project. Shang Wei, the new ruler of the Northern Phoenix Empire, promised the people to finish it within 5 years during his official ceremony. Presently, there's not much to see in this ghost city except for a 100-foot large monument constructed in the middle of the city in remembrance of the citizens who lost their lives in Shang Jun's Imperial Massacre incident. Yup, that was the official name etched into the history books. To rebuild the city and also manage the empire, the Northern Phoenix Empire needed hefty funds. Hence, Shang Wei had to join the United Celestial Dominion, an alliance comprised of 3 independent kingdoms, i.e. the Western Yan Kingdom, the Western Moon Kingdom, and the Eastern Sun Kingdom. 2 empires, namely, the Northern Phoenix Empire and the Southern Phoenix Empire. Unlike the usual alliance between empires, this alliance was slightly different. Here, there will be a higher body called the Genesis Cabinet that oversees the affairs of the alliance. Each member had to pay 40% of their overall tax to Genesis Cabinet, which then used this money for the states that weren't doing financially great or in need of loans. The taxes were also used to maintain Fu Sheng's military army headed by Yao, who had his soul transferred to the body of the demigod after the latter's demise. Of course, its functions were limited to only these things. There are other things the cabinet is also responsible for, such as overseeing financial regulations and economic policies of the states, enforcing military law in case of the sudden demise of the ruler, acting as a mediator between two states in case of negotiations, representing their alliance on the world stage, creating embassies and consulates for seamless traveling between the states so that the civilians wouldn't have to worry about being questioned by the authorities, etc. While the Genesis cabinet was headed by Mark, he alone doesn't possess the power to make the decisions. There are two permanent representatives appointed by every member to act as the mediator between the ruling state and the cabinet. Of course, that doesn't stop Mark from implementing a policy. He possesses the power of veto he could use against the wishes of the representatives. Now, where is the headquarters of this cabinet located? Originally, the Blood Hill Forest was proposed. A large area in Sector 9, the outermost region of the forest, was stated to be cleared to create a neutral region for the cabinet, its army, and other buildings. However, after Leon Empire lodged a protest against this move, as the forest could not be touched according to the agreement made between Leon Empire and Phoenix Empire, Mark withdrew the idea. After marrying Song Yue, he put away his hatred for his biological family and also forgave others for their past deeds against him or his friends. While he still intended to uphold his promises, such as returning to the ancient Lan clan with Lan Jiang and reviving the Lan sect on MT. Lan once again with the Zheng. For now, Mark decided to stay peaceful with his family for a few years. As a result, for now, the cabinet's building is located in the heart of Lunaris City. While the cabinet seemed all-powerful, it also had its own counterpart. Mark created it so that these ruling dynasties wouldn't feel like they were being controlled by him. Just like its name, the Council of Kings is a round-table conference where all the ruling kings-emperors of respective states in alliance meet in person and discuss other affairs. The Council of Kings has the power to overrule the decision taken by the cabinet. They have the power to add new members to the alliance too, and are even given the power to replace Mark with someone else as the new chancellor. But to challenge Mark's veto, they need at least 4 out of 5 votes against the resolution, while challenging the cabinet's resolution would need 4 of 5 votes not in favor of the resolution. The abstain from voting plays a major role here. This is usually discussed in either monthly meetings or emergency meetings. One such emergency council meeting was currently going on in the city of Imperial City of Southern Phoenix located in southern Yuan province, with Mark overseeing it as the chancellor of the cabinet. Shang Zexi put forth the scroll on the table as he looked at Mark in a bit of anger. Look, Chancellor Lu, this resolution passed by the cabinet is not acceptable at all. Just a while ago, we paid our quarterly tax and on top of that, you are asking us to contribute 2 million gold coins for the sake of rebuilding Emperor Shang Wei's capital city. Due to Mark's identity as his half-brother and his chosen path of nonviolence and compromising attitude in negotiations for the past few months, Shang Zexi took him more ease lately and didn't hesitate to voice his thoughts, unlike in the past. Mark wanted to beat the hell out of him right away, but he swallowed up his emotions and let out his business smile as he replied, "You see, Emperor Shang Zexi, try to understand. The 2 million gold coins you contributed were not going to be a gift or something. It is a loan. Haven't we promised that we will first reduce the annual interest on it from your quarterly tax payment in the future? Not to mention, it is not like spending that money will bring huge economic problems to your empire. Why not help out your brother, instead of wasting it by storing it in the treasury?" As Shang Zexi went red-faced for a second and was about to say something bad, Mark hurriedly continued, "See, if you don't want to contribute, it is fine. I will put those 2 million from my pocket and give it to him as a loan, but you won't benefit from this. A significant contribution from you might give you high returns when the northern Phoenix City's construction is finished." He glanced at the other 3 and added, "Leon Empire is interested in the project, and it won't definitely be in our interests to let them in. Think about it once." At once, Shang Zexi rested his elbows on the table as he leaned forward and started thinking deeply. After the partition of the Phoenix Empire, Shang Zexi put forth his allies to rapidly dig out natural resources like ether ores, precious metals like gold, silver, copper, tungsten, iron, etc. Gems like diamonds, cutting down forests for timber, increasing tea plantations in some hilly regions, extracting natural dyes from the plants, minerals, and insects, capturing marine beasts from the ocean to extract meat from them. All of these are then exported to foreign empires as raw materials. Chapter 542, The Council of Kings. As a result, the southern Shang dynasty's ruling family and nobles managed to amass enough wealth. Cities became prosperous, the inflow of merchants increased rapidly, and businessmen were putting up their shops. Unfortunately, the majority of its common citizens who worked as laborers or assistants for weekly or monthly wages remained poor. On the other hand, Shang Wei protected natural resources and instead encouraged agriculture and service industry in his empire. His vision was different from inns, tea houses, and taverns that provide food, lodging, and entertainment for adventurers and locals were developed in almost every large city and town. He provided more benefits to skilled artisans and craftsmen, traditional healers, potion masters, scholars, teachers, musicians, storytellers, actors, messengers, couriers, etc. While corruption and wealth inequality were a problem here too, the common citizens still looked happier under Shang Wei's administration. The jobs Shang Wei encouraged everyone were something that even the ones without any ether energy could make a living out of it. Not to mention, the education policy of Shang Wei, which offers free education to everyone in state-owned institutions as long as their household is registered with the district magistrate, was something that turned out to be a masterful move and attracted thousands of families from all over the continent over the past few months. Shang Zexi was confident that Shang Wei's path wouldn't be as successful as his path, and over time, the difference in their prosperity would only widen further. In order to make sure that he remains a winner, Shang Zexi played his move. Raising his head to look at his brother instead of Mark, he raised 3 fingers, not 2 million. I was willing to contribute up to 3 million gold coins on my part, but not through the cabinet. I want a state-to-state loan transaction, but will charge the usual 12% annual rate of interest. Taking everyone else by surprise, including Mark who didn't expect this guy to make such a move, Shang Zexi further said, "Brother Wei was rebuilding the capital city to honor our forefathers. I respect it, but I'm currently the Emperor of Southern Phoenix, and I have to think in the best interests of my people. As long as Brother Wei agrees to pay me 1% monthly interest on time, meaning 30,000 gold coins, I'm ready to lend a hand. Hence, I reject the resolution." After he put forth his proposal and rejected the cabinet's order, he leaned back to the chair and observed the others who were slightly influenced by his words. After all, it wasn't just Shang Zexi who received such an order. The others are also ordered to contribute according to their wealth, i.e. Western Yan, 500,000 gold coins, Western Moon, 1.5 million gold coins, and Eastern Sun, 5 million gold coins. As long as they follow Shang Zexi's path, Shang Wei would have to pay hefty monthly interests, which eventually hinder his empire's growth. Mark was also aware of it. He was about to speak something, but his brother from another mother beat him to it. Folding his hands calmly, Shang Wei surprised the others with a nod. "I accept your deal." His voice was calm, and there wasn't even a little bit of hesitation on his face. "I'm abstaining from this resolution." "Yes." Shang Zexi clenched his fist under the table. His eyes wandered the room. Just as he expected, the facial expressions of others changed and his confidence grew. This idiot fell into the very trap I was trying to make him avoid. Mark felt like slapping his own forehead because of Shang Wei's stupidity. He knows that Shang Wei wasn't originally keen on joining this alliance. Heck, he wasn't even interested in becoming the emperor in the first place, but the circumstances forced him to. When he met Mark and expressed his wishes to step down and appoint Shang Bo in his place, Mark told him about the alliance. Shang Wei accepted on the condition that Mark would help him rebuild the city their forefathers founded and lived in for over 1,700 years. Mark personally gave 6 million gold coins from his own pocket as a zero-interest loan, and put another 9 million on the heads of other states. Why did he do that? Well, it was originally out of necessity. 8 months ago, the Tang dynasty Dragon Empire, for fear of demigods' onslaught and revenge, offered an apology. Mark accepted it on the condition of 1 billion gold coins as compensation. Of course, it was an absurd amount, and after several negotiations, the compensated amount was reduced to 100 million gold coins, which will be given in 20 installments, every month once. So far, Mark received 40 million gold coins, but all of it, along with most of his savings, was spent on buying construction materials for building his own city on his island, and rare metals for making weapons and ammunition. Even with profits from selling ammunition and existing weapon stock, his current savings are only a little more than 2 million gold coins in his inventory. Hence, Mark had to depend on others now. After Shang Wei accepted Shang Zexi's deal, the others started having second thoughts. Even Shen Niu was in a dilemma of whether he should accept the cabinet's original order or challenge it. In the end, he raised his hand. I'm fine with either way, so I abstained from voting. Good, now just one more. Shang Zexi's right leg started shaking in nervousness and excitement. As the others seemed to be weighing their options, Mark, who didn't want to resort to threatening Shang Zexi and others to force out money, rested his elbows on the table and sighed inwardly. Man, this is making me remember those days when I kept on requesting the department head to increase the funding for our research. If only I hadn't had a one-night stand with his ex-wife of all people, Project Astra could have been successful. Damn, the timing went wrong. But the experience was worth it, I guess, although I cannot remember her face. So many years have been passed already. Ding, Master, would you like me to play the memory? A voice spoke in his head. Shut up, Mark shouted in his head and became more focused on others. As something clicked in his head, he spoke to the AI, Arc, tell me everyone's mood status. Ding, scanning. 2 seconds later, words that are invisible to the rest of the world appeared above the heads of the people in the room, added with an emoji. Shang Zexi looked excited. Does he think he will be successful, or is it the tea? It could be the former. Shang Wei was calm as if he didn't care. My father-in-law looked conflicted. What is there to think now, old man? Didn't you already abstain? Feng Wu seemed to be in a mixture of worry and excitement, and his nephew King Feng was confused. What's there to be confused about? You are only a couple of years younger than Aoyang Zhen. Look at him. How calm and confident he is looking. He didn't even bring a bodyguard like you did. Okay, let's stop with distractions and focus, Mark. Chapter 543, Cultivating Even Before Birth. After a few minutes, the result came out as follows. Shang Zexi, Southern Phoenix, is rejecting the resolution. Shang Wei, Northern Phoenix, is abstaining from the resolution. Shen Niu, Western Moon, is abstaining from the resolution. Ouyang Zhen, Eastern Sun, is in favor of the resolution. Feng Chun, Western Yan, is abstaining from the resolution. Bang! Mark slammed the plate with the hammer, just like how the auction house master does at the final bid, and announced, 3 abstains, 1 in favor, and 1 rejection. According to Article 3 of the Genesis Cabinet's Constitution, the Cabinet will revise the terms and conditions of the resolution and send it to the states for approval. Now let's move on to the next agenda, the Red Lotus Brotherhood. Everyone's facial expression immediately changed upon hearing that name. It was a newly formed rebel group, shortly after the partition of the empire. Their aim is to wipe out wealthy individuals and nobles who enjoy the fruits of the labor done by common citizens. They also held the Shang dynasty accountable for the Shang Jun imperial massacre incident. More than a rebel group, it is like a sleeper cell. No one even knows who orders them in the first place and how many people are working for this organization. Any civilian or random adventure could suddenly launch a terrorist attack in public areas and grand events. If there was one thing that was common, it was their way of conducting the attack. Mark placed a red pill on the table and spoke. I believe all of you already know what this is. Shang Wei nodded seriously, the exploding pill. Mark then took out a hand-sized glass bottle and placed it on the table, surprising the rest as it had dozens of pills inside. A couple of days ago, we accidentally caught a suspicious merchant at Lunaris, trying to sell this to a servant of our palace. Shen Niu looked surprised by this news as he wasn't aware of it. Mark continued. The servant was a relative of a soldier who lost his life in the massacre incident. While we couldn't extract the information of the mastermind behind the organization, what we know so far is that they were targeting the relatives of the victims who lost their lives in that incident, poor people who were frustrated about the inflation, victims or who were related to the victims who were, in one or another, harassed by nobles, military and civilian authorities, etc. "What is the source of this jar full of exploding pills?" asked Yang Zhen. "If a batch of pills is so many in number, where each pill represents one possible terrorist attack, it is natural for this 13-year-old to be worried." Mark answered. The prisoner said that this was given to him by a wandering merchant in a clown mask and hood. He was given 500 gold coins to deliver to servant Yu, who unfortunately committed suicide without revealing anything. Meaning, they have a high fund source. We need to look for someone with a legitimate business that has the potential to acquire high profits and has a high customer base, but for some reason, their profits are only marginal. Businesses where their profits could easily be concealed from the official account books, Shang Wei commented in a firm tone, as if he was confident in his hypothesis. We can certainly start from there. Mark agreed with Shang Wei's thoughts, as even Shen Ling opinioned the same when he consulted with her. After discussing a few other affairs, they concluded the conference and Mark had a series of private meetings with them, who mostly inquired about the status of the weapons manufacturing on his private island, and asked whether he could provide the first batch of their orders, as it has already been 6 months since he took advance from them. Unfortunately, Mark could only disappoint them by citing a lack of raw materials for certain parts of firearms. In reality, he isn't interested in releasing them into the market until the numbers reach the 1 million benchmark. Since he could no longer create weapons out of nothing, Mark had to carefully plan to establish a successful long-term business. Once he was done with the meetings, he left the palace in his LMV without his father-in-law and traveled non-stop for 6 hours to reach Lunaris City, before reaching a large mansion in an affluent neighborhood, guarded by robots. Upon his arrival, the robots made the way for him to enter the Genesis mansion, greeted by more robots. From the cook to the gardener, every servant appeared to be a robot here. He gave nods to each of them, climbing the staircase to the first floor and eventually reaching a bedroom where a 26-week pregnant Song Yue was seen sleeping peacefully. The golden demon kitten, Anand Spencer, was in his cat form, lying beside her and sleeping too. And so was the manticore, which was lying on the floor. There are a few rank 8 robots standing in the corners of the room like bodyguards. His arrival alerted both of them, but neither of them came to him to show their affection like before. They looked at him and then slept once again as if he didn't matter. As for the robots, they bowed to him and stood straight once again. Mark couldn't help but let out a wry smile when he saw that and let out a sigh. Well, it was my decision to cut off my contract with them and force their wills to bind it to Song Yue instead. At the very least, they don't hate me. I should be satisfied with it. He dragged a chair nearby and sat beside the bed, while the manticore Baltro moved aside in silence. Ark checked the status of baby. He spoke in his head, taking a glance at her belly. Ding, scanning in progress. A few seconds later. Fetus unnamed. Status, healthy, body is fully developed, hibernation. Gender, male. Age, 6 months, 18 days. Estimated time of birth, unknown. Cultivation, 1 circle high. Attribute, chaos. Bloodline, primeval, locked. Description: the unnamed fetus is the child of Master and his first wife, Lady Song Yue. Due to the remnants of chaos energy left behind by the orb of chaos after its extraction, the fetus was forced to cultivate automatically before even the birth. However, Due to enormous power, the fetus was forced to go into hibernation. Its birth might happen after the end of its hibernation. Oh, he already reached the advanced stage. 2 days ago, it was only at intermediate stage. Good. Mark developed a big smile on his face, feeling proud of the child who has yet to be born. At the same time, there was also this anxiety about when his birth will take place. Of course, in case of emergency, there was always Sylvandria on her side, the unborn child's godmother, appointed by Song Yue. But for the moment, Sylvandria isn't in the home as she went to MT, land for her breakthrough. Roughly 3 weeks ago, following Lan Clan's ancient technique, under Zheng's instructions, she created an avatar by splitting her soul into two, using the elemental seed of light, which was brought by deity Yujiang on Mark's request. Her ether energy has been halved, but resulted in 2 copies of Sylvandria with mid-9 circle realm cultivation. One has a light element, and the other inherited her divine energy. Together, they ventured into Blood Hill Forest and the oceans on a daily basis in order to increase their cultivation, by absorbing the cores of the spirit beasts. 2 days ago, they managed to reach the peak stage and went to MT, land for the merge. Chapter 544, Mark becomes a father. Back to the present, Mark silently stayed with Song Yue without disturbing her sleep, until her mother returned from the kitchen with a ladle in her hand, wearing an apron. "Oh, Zio Lu, when did you arrive?" She seemed surprised and couldn't control her voice for a second. "Ah, just now." Mark got up and greeted her with a bow, "Mother-in-law." Song Yue furrowed her brows in her sleep, looking like her sleep was disturbed. "SSHHH." Chen Zio put her finger on her lips and then gestured to her outside the room, not intending to disturb her daughter's sleep. As they walked into the living room on the first floor and took their seats, she asked, "So, how's your meeting gone?" Mark let out a sigh as he shook his head, "Not positively. The cabinet's resolution was overthrown by Shang Zexi. The others don't also seem to be in favor. It looks like it is going to be a bumpy road for Shang Wei." "Well, you did what you could do. We don't need to worry about the things that are out of our control," Chen Zio consoled her son-in-law. After a brief pause, she added, "By the way, Zio Yue has shown the signs of losing control yesterday." Again, Mark's facial expression changed once again. "When exactly?" he asked. "Afternoon," replied Chen Zio. She took a breath and explained, "We were having lunch together and suddenly, weird dark energy erupted out of her and destroyed the tableware, spilling the dishes around. Fortunately, little Baltro acted timely and swallowed it while little Anand knocked her out." Mark thought of something and consulted the AI. "Ark, can I assume that it is because of the minor breakthrough? This happened in the past too." Ding. "Certainly, Master. The chances are more than 80%. However, you should also consider the fact that pregnant women are often sensitive about things. It could also be the taste of the dishes, or it could be the feeling of separation from Master too. Without witnessing in person, I cannot conclude it with one reason." I truly miss the system in times like these," Mark couldn't help but comment. The artificial intelligence made a counter-argument right away, trying to poke him where it hurt. "Should I kindly remind Master that it was my creator who left you to death after you used you?" "Well, I don't hate the system," Mark, however, calmly reacted. "Even before leaving, it allowed me to have the army of robots while writing off my debt. It also doesn't change the fact that whatever I'm now, the credit goes to the system. The artificial intelligence was the one who got triggered instead. Humph, Master, it's me who saved your life. You should be more grateful toward me, not my creator." It immediately lodged a protest. "Wow, I didn't expect you to be jealous of someone too," Mark chuckled as he teased the AI inside his head. "Master is to blame for that. After integrating with your consciousness, I unlocked some of your human emotions." As the artificial intelligence dealt with a statement, a confused Chen Zio interrupted their conversation with a question. "What are you thinking about, Zio Lu?" She didn't know about Ark, hence it was natural for her to be confused. Mark returned to reality and shook his head. "Nothing. I was just excited about my son's birth." Chen Zio believed his words and nodded with a smile. Every parent feels the same. 5 days later, in the middle of the night, a loud scream echoed through the mansion, followed by the crying voices of a baby. After a while, the door was opened and Chen Zio walked out with a baby wrapped in a cloth, all cleaned up. Mark was quick to rush toward her. When Mark approached Chen Zio, who was currently carrying a crying baby boy in her arms, his eyes met with his son, and in an instant the crying stopped and the baby raised its arms toward Mark. "Oh my!" Shenling let out a giggle in surprise. "It looks like the baby knows who his father is." Mark couldn't just stop smiling as he took him into his arms. It was the first time he was feeling something incredible. Various emotions were flowing through his mind. He couldn't help but have a rush of overwhelming love for that radiant baby, amazement and awe, a sense of protection toward that precious little thing, joy and happiness. And this rush of emotions overwhelmed him, making him tear up a little. "Congratulations, dear. Congratulations for the son, Zio Lu. Congratulations, Mr. Lu. Congratulations, Lord Lu. Congra." Amidst the congratulations pouring from all sides, Chen Zio spoke. "Name your son. You cannot go in and see the mother until the child is named." "Yeah, I know," Mark nodded in understanding. Shen Ling commented from the side. "If you haven't prepared the name, you could always give a nickname first." To which Mark responded with a shake of his head. "No, that is not needed. I and Song Yue have already thought of the name long ago." Mark let the baby grab his finger with its tiny hands and announced, "I would like to have my son lead a simple and modest life, one without any life risk. Hence, I name him Lu Zhen." The baby boy, who was curiously looking at his father, suddenly broke out into a smile when he heard Mark's words, as if he understood them. "Ah, look, he seems to like it." Shen Ling couldn't help but also smile in happiness as she found it very cute. She took it into her arms as both of them followed into the room to visit Song Yue. Song Yue looked quite weak at the moment, and Mark couldn't help but rush forward when he saw that, kneeling beside the bed and grabbing her hands. "Are you all right?" She weakly nodded with a smile and asked, "Did you name him?" "Lu Zhen," replied Mark with a nod. Song Yue then said, "Let me take another look at our child." Shen Ling brought the baby, who once again went into a curiosity mode and observed the princess, and placed it beside his mother. He instantly reached out to his mother's left breast, but upon touching the clothes, chaos energy suddenly erupted from his palms, disintegrating a portion of her clothes instantly without hurting her, taking Shen Ling and Mark by surprise. Shen Ling hurriedly turned her head aside while Mark stopped Shen Niu, who was about to step inside with a gesture of his palm. As baby Lu Zhen started drinking milk from his mother, Shen Ling took this opportunity to tease Mark once again, glancing at his surprised face from the corner of her eyes. "The given name and your child's actions don't seem to be matched, dear." Mark could only laugh in a mixture of embarrassment and pride. Well, he was born with cultivation, so it is normal, I guess. After a while, the child went to sleep, and Chen Zio stayed inside to change Song Yue's dress as Mark and others came out. Soon, the guests were escorted to their rooms while Mark returned to Song Yue's room to keep an eye on his son for the rest of the night. Little did he know at that time that his son's birth itself brought trouble to his doorstep, cutting off his dream of living a peaceful life with his family. Chapter 545, Lu Zhen's Fortune. Planet of Vriga, Immortal Plane of Existence. A teenage-looking woman with the ears and whiskers of a cat was rapidly absorbing the natural energy from the planet, which was once frozen in ice, but the rapid depletion of energy caused the ice to melt and turn into water before slowly turning into a barren wasteland. Her meditation was disturbed by the arrival of a humanoid-looking man with golden feathered wings on his back, and the golden demon cat instantly attacked him in annoyance. The winged man evaded the beam of energy with a sidestep and stretched his hands forward. "Whoa, easy there, my wild cat. I'm merely here to pass you a message from Master." "Die." She charged forward with her claws out. Her speed was so fast that it appeared as if she teleported 100 meters away in an instant, and yet the stranger evaded it once again with another sidestep while still maintaining a smile on his face. You know it is bad manners to act against your big bro like this. Who the FCK is my big bro? The golden demon cat was only enraged by his comment. She jumped high and swiped her claws into the air, aiming at her opponent. Giant arcs of energy made their way toward him. The stranger, this time, didn't evade. Instead, he conjured a hexagonal prism-shaped golden barrier around himself, letting the claws of energy strike the barrier and deflect. In an instant, the entire planet was shredded into pieces of dust, with even its core destroyed, leaving behind these two beings floating in space, while the planet's 3 moons started drifting away to form their independent orbits around the star, located about 6 billion kilometers away. Soon, a portal with suction power emerged between them, and in a few seconds, all the dust around them disappeared and the girl raised her arms to conjure a sphere of demonic energy. But the man didn't fight her as she thought. Instead, he casually lectured her while folding his hands to the chest. "Relax there, kitty. You know that you cannot defeat me. Why bother getting riled up for no reason and destroying worlds? Just listen to what I have to say. I told you already, I have no relations with your race." It goes without saying that his comment only enraged her further. The strongest under-mythical cosmic beasts responded by throwing the concentrated energy sphere at him, so potent that it could even destroy a solar system as long as it hits something and explode. Hence, the winged man couldn't help but take action this time. Singularity. With a mumble escaping his mouth, a dot appeared on his palm, generating an enormous amount of suction force and absorbing the energy sphere. Once the energy sphere entered the black hole, he destroyed both of them and tried to converse with the serious-looking girl, who was already preparing for her next attack. The appearance of horns on her forehead and the rapid energy gathering in between those horns was the best evidence for it. "Would you keep acting like a brat?" The winged man tried to reason with her, although his choice of words wasn't appropriate from the start, and neither did they get better. The golden demon cat growled at him, "Shut up, you mortal." "Well, the one who is sitting on the top of that heavenly throne is also a mortal, sweetie," replied the winged man, winking at her. The girl shivered in anger at once. "Stop calling me that, you bastard," she screamed, unleashing the beam of energy with her horns. Containing the power of almost an elder god, low 15 circle, the energy beam struck him head-on with its full force, bringing a smile to her face only for it to be wiped off in the next second as the beam disappeared into his body. When the attack ended, she saw a black hole on the upper part of his chest as his expression turned serious for the first time. "Sira," a word escaped from him, making her shudder in fear this time as he raised the hand and conjured a sword with live images of galaxies seen on its blade. "You know what happens when I draw the sword of void. So, this time, with great sincerity, I'm going to say it again. Master wishes to pass an order to you. Listen carefully." Master had a prophetic dream where a mortal child riding on top of a masculine golden demon cat challenging the Jade Emperor sometime in the future. He wants you to abduct that baby and bring it to him. In exchange, he will reward you handsomely. The golden demon cat's facial expression changed all of a sudden. The prophetic dream. After seeming like she deeply thought on the matter for a few seconds, she asked, "What if I refuse?" "What else? The same as last time," replied the winged man. When her facial expression turned ugly, he finished the sentence, "The annihilation of your clan." "You damn!" The golden demon cat swiped her claws at him once again, tearing the space between them in the process. But he didn't even bother engaging with her further and disappeared instead. The energy claws started traveling nonstop, destroying everything on its way. Meanwhile, the golden demon cat tightened her fist and swore under her breath, "One day, I will make a breakthrough, and that day, I will annihilate your race across all worlds. But for now, I need to put my focus on mastering the great law of null." A few days later, in the mortal plane of existence. Song's residence, Lunaris City. Song Yue was carrying the baby boy in her arms. Lu Zhen was standing beside her, as a famous fortune teller of the continent visited them to read the baby's fortune. He came all the way from the Kun Empire, on King Shen Niu's request, to see the baby. Now Mark has no belief in things like fortune-telling, as they were always vague, and unlike prophecies, fortunes also have a low chance of success. Despite such fact, it was deeply rooted in the tradition of this world, and Mark couldn't help but listen to his wife, who was curious about her child's future. The fortune-teller looked at the baby's birth time and date, his attribute and density of ether particles, the yin and yang balance in the body, the feng shui of the house he was born in, his given name, and ancestral background before he did the calendric calculations, such as the combination of 10 heavenly stems and 12 earthly branches which cycle through the years, month, days, and house. After taking about half an hour of time, fortune teller Wang spoke to the couple. "Your child's destiny is filled with greatness. He has the fate to become a king. He would have everything in his hands that the entire universe would have to offer." While his words were filled with praises, Mark saw beads of sweat on this fortune teller's forehead despite the optimal temperature in the room, indicating that he was feeling quite nervous for some reason. He couldn't help but respond with a question. Will he face numerous challenges in life? Does it involve life-threatening? The fortune became silent for a moment, and the others looked at him in worry. Chapter 546. Sylvandria changes her fate. Those 20 seconds of silence raised Song Yue's heartbeat to the peak, and the chaos energy remnants inside her started going wild. She was trying her best to calm herself until the fortune teller opened his mouth to answer her husband's question. Wang Yu took a deep breath and looked at Mark as he said, "Every moment of life is filled with danger. When he is not in danger, he becomes dangerous. Only a deity's blessing could avert this fate." After a while, after the fortune teller left with a bag of 1,000 gold coins as his fee, Song Yue worriedly looked at her husband. "Marky, what should we do?" Mark put his hand around her shoulder with a smile. "Never take fortune tellers seriously. The analysis behind him just stemmed from our lives. He knew that we had enemies. He also probably knew my connection to the Shang dynasty. It was just a gimmick. Nothing to worry about, and don't unnecessarily worry others, especially your mother too." Is that so? Song Yue's worries lessened after listening to Mark. When her mother entered the room and inquired about the fortune, Song Yue had to keep that negative fortune for herself and only told her the positive thing. No one knows how this news about Lu Shan having the fate of a king spread to others, but by evening it had already reached the allied kings too, and 2 of them started worrying about their throne. One was Shen Niu, and the other was Shang Zexi. The trust in the alliance slightly shook for a bit with the rumor. Shen Niu summoned the princess to push up her marriage, and Shang Zexi couldn't help but contact his trusted ally, Su Sect, to discuss the matter. Several hours later in the night, Song Yue was sleeping in their bedroom with the baby kept in the cradle, and a robot was taking care of the baby, swinging it slowly and making sure the baby had a good sleep. However, Mark was missing there. He was actually lying down on the roof and watching the beautiful sky filled with stars and galaxies. He consoled his wife, but his heart was disturbed by the words of the fortune teller. "This can't go on. After abandoning my revenge and living without scheming against someone or fighting, I really found the value of peace. Lu Shan has a chaos attribute and inherited primeval bloodline too. I don't know what this is going to do, as I have yet to experience it myself, but the fact that the system placed it above Blizzard Pegasus only indicates that it is heaven-defying. His talent would surely attract the powers without question, and after Shang Jun, I can't underestimate the craziness of these people. Some might go to any extent to hurt others. Not to mention, the threat of those exploding pills lately has even reached my neighborhood. First of all, I need to secure the planet from outside forces. For that, I need to improve the strength of those 4 ancient beasts. Secondly, I should fasten the progress of bringing democracy to this land and turning it into a constitutional monarchy. This is going to be tough unless I have an empire of my own. The only way I can have that without troubling my allies is to cut down the Bloodhill Forest and claim it for myself. However, it also means that a war with the Leon Empire will be imminent. Not a problem for me, but the war will generate hatred, and my child will only be in danger. Thirdly, I need to find a way to amass ether particles for my breakthrough. I lack funds at the moment to buy ether crystals. So, my best bet is to finish the remaining quests and gain that cultivation skill that will let me absorb energy from the cosmos. But the problem is that I can no longer summon Baal because the medium has disappeared, along with the system. Not to mention, the Church of Doom with its tower disappeared from this land after I killed their founder. I don't know where their supreme pontiff is hiding right now, and I cannot teleport to the quest location as before. I still have a few advanced stat pills in my inventory, should I sell them, but I won't get much this time. Wait a second. As something suddenly clicked in his head, he quickly sat down and slapped his thigh. There is a way. I just have to mine it from other worlds. Who knows, I could also find ether ores and get lucky. I just have to focus on mastering my space attribute. But in the next second he turned serious as he contemplated on the matter. Unfortunately, I cannot do this on my own. I need an able teacher who can be trusted with my secrets too. There's no better one than Lord Yujung, but he is the guardian of the realm. He won't have time to teach me. Another one I can lean on is Baal himself. Even if I couldn't summon him, I could still go to the netherworld to meet him there. However, it is going to be very risky as that world is filled with powerful demons that I cannot battle against. If something happens to me, what will happen to my wife and child? No, I cannot do that. In such a case, I can only see one path ahead of me that can help me out and also keep my family safe. The Ancient Lan Clan. A couple of days later, at MT Lan of Kunlun Mountains. In the middle of the day, all of a sudden, dark clouds gathered on top of MT. Lan and thunder rumbled among the clouds so loud that it alerted several experts of the above 7-circle realm in the 1,000-kilometer range. Meanwhile, the supreme beings and demigods living elsewhere in the world had their gaze fixed in the direction where MT Lan is located, as the figure sitting on top of it was bombarded with lightning strikes one after another. Sylvandria's body was protected by the barrier of divine energy, as she was in a deep meditative state. Lan Ju, the Zheng, also added an additional layer of security by conjuring another barrier on her own, shielding her against the lightning strikes that intended to burn her to ashes for going against heaven. Meanwhile, inside her mindscape, Sylvandria was fighting against an identical image of her but with more skills and mastery. Unfortunately, she wasn't on the side of victory. Looking down at Sylvandria, who was barely supporting herself from collapsing completely onto the ground and taking heavy breaths, her opponent pointed the blade at her and spoke coldly. "Give up, Sylvandria. You cannot change your fate." An agitated Sylvandria shouted back, "I refuse. I don't sense any love from you for that mortal. There's no need for you to swear your loyalty to him just because your body has been defiled," replied the mirror self. As Sylvandria tried to get up, she further added, "Purity should be within the soul, not the body that will be returned to the earth over the passage of time." Upon getting up, Sylvandria put her hand on her stomach and said, "Because of our connection, you can only see my memories. You don't know the condition of my body, do you?" At once, the mirror self's facial expression changed. "That's impossible. It's not about the loyalty, Goddess Fina. I'm fighting for something far more precious enough to risk the erasure of my existence forever." Sylvandria raised her hand to conjure a divine sword in her hands to continue their fight. However, the mirror self didn't fight her for some reason. Instead, she put away the sword and spoke, "Very well, I'll let you free. However, when the day arrives, I'll come for you. Be prepared for it. No matter what kind of intention a being has, the one who goes against the way of heaven must face consequences." She disappeared from the spot after giving a warning, leaving Sylvandria on one of her knees, trying not to lose consciousness. Meanwhile, on the outside, her lightning tribulation went through smoothly without facing any potential injuries at all, until her cultivation realm finally pushed through the wall of the supreme realm. The divine energy erupted from her on all sides, had destroyed the barrier conjured by Zheng, while the clouds disappeared from the sky. Staring at the sky, she mumbled, "I'm always prepared to face the punishment." Chapter 547, Shang Jiao and Jingwu. A couple of weeks later. Genesis Factory, Fujian Island, Western Moon Kingdom. Roughly 300 kilometers away from the mainland, there used to be an island, a 5 km of land filled with beautiful white beaches, lush forests, and a large mountain. But now, the forests are gone and replaced by gardens. The mountain completely disappeared and was replaced by a lighthouse. Instead, a massive factory that encompassed 3/4 of the island, over 4 km in area, became the landmark of this location. From the outside, it looked like a giant dome made of white granite. But when one steps inside, their minds will surely blow up in amazement. Magical sealing was applied at the largest section of the factory, which is actually almost 90% of the factory, and makes it seem like it is under the sky. Usually, it is a testing arena where Mark tests his weapons, but at the moment, it has become a battleground for Shang Jiao and her recent mentor and also her friend, Jingwei. The 16-year-old princess was already in the legendary realm and currently perfecting her new bloodline ability, the Eternal Ice, in which she could endlessly conjure ice for a couple of minutes and manipulate it in any way she wanted. The skill was so strong in her hands that even Jingwei, a supreme being, was completely focused on evading it as a streak of ice chasing her at subsonic speeds. Naturally, her speed is way higher than the streak of ice, and she couldn't help but taunt her opponent with provoking words. "Come on, little princess, try to catch me up. What happened? Did you slow down? At this rate, you won't be able to master this place. Don't you want to get out of here and assist my papa, put more ether energy into it? You are doing nothing but destroying this place." However, Shang Jiao completely ignored her taunts. She was standing on top of an ice pillar with icy wings sprouting from her back. Her gaze looked calmer, and it was difficult for Jingwei to see through her thoughts. Jingwei eventually got bored of it and decided to patiently evade the ice streaks and then knock out her opponent once it disappeared. It was only after a while did she realize that she was actually playing right into Shang Jiao's hands. By the time she realized it, she was surrounded by the ice streak on all sides. The only way for her escape was to fly higher, but there was a giant ice mirror covering the sky above her. Shang Jiao finally let out a smile as she motioned her hand, "Now." In an instant, thousands of icicles gush out of the mirror, raining down on Jingwei. The latter covered herself with an energy barrier. It was at this moment all of a sudden, the false sky turned scarlet and the ice streaks disappeared at once. So was the energy barrier around Jingwei. Both girls started falling to the ground. As they landed safely on their feet at the same time, Mark was seen entering the space in a white lab coat, alongside a robotic three-headed hound, Elena, and a couple of robots in lab coats too. Zhenji, the little princess, was taken aback in surprise upon seeing her brother coming out of nowhere. "When did you arrive?" She hastened her pace toward him, ignoring Jingwei altogether. However, the latter beat her to it with a dash to Mark and grabbed his arm. "Papa." Mark stroked Jingwei's hair with a smile but had his attention on his sister instead. "Jiaome, I need your help with testing a missile." "Okay, sure." Shang Jiao's eyes lit up as if she was excited. However, Jingwei, who was enjoying her time, snapped out of it and protested by tugging his sleeves. "Papa, I'm stronger than her and in a higher realm. Shouldn't I be the one to help you?" "Excuse me, Wei Wai." Shang Jiao folded her hands to her chest and let out a smirk. "Who was the one that ran away like a scaredy cat? You were almost defeated by the one in the lower realm." Jingwei sharply stared at her and argued, "Humph, who was afraid? I was just biding my time. Moreover, I was helping you out as your mentor. I could destroy it in a matter of seconds if I want to." "Oh yeah, then how come I never saw you did it? You always beat me with your higher speed." Shang Jiao didn't back down. "Then, let's resume our spar. This time, not only I will destroy it head-on, but I will also teach you a lesson on how to respect your elders." Jingwei displayed confidence, glancing at her master from the corner of her eyes. All this time you were acting as if we were the same age and suddenly you become my elder. Fine with me. Let's fight. Your bluff doesn't work on me. As Shang Jiao looked like she was ready to fight, probably to show off her prowess in front of her older brother, the latter interrupted them before it got out of his hand. Okay, stop it you two. He then pointed his finger at the red skis. You see it right. I have activated the null mechanism. Neither of you will be able to use your powers in this place. Now, Jingwei, this has nothing to do with who is stronger. My sister's ice manipulation is stronger than mine, and I need that ability for my test. Elena chimed in. Yeah, that's right. We need to test our Song II missile in extreme cold conditions. Named after Song Yue, the Song missile is a nuclear-capable missile, created by Mark and Elena a year ago, using Brahmo's missile as the base. It was also the first missile he actually built in this world. This versatile missile could be launched from land-based mobile autonomous launchers, naval vessels, and aircraft. However, it could only move at supersonic speed, Mach 2.9 without a warhead, and the range is around 300 km. For the past few months, Mark has been working on this project, placing Elena as the main researcher for it. Their aim is to increase its speed, range, and yield capacity, eventually giving birth to Song II, which has a 560 km maximum range without a warhead and has over Mach 4.5 speed. Yielding capacity is also increased from 42 kT to 75 kT. But it has its own challenges too. Chapter 548, Testing the Missile Failure. The supposed upgraded missile, Song II, turned out to be weaker than the original Song missile created by the system, mainly due to the fact that system-created missiles have 100% energy conservation, while the one he currently built only had like 45%. Hence, while Elena focused on upgrading the missile, he was focused on the warhead. The factory, which was upgraded to the maximum level before the exit of the system, has already the necessary equipment to create every type of weapon he could. The only problem is with the procurement of materials now that the mining system, unfortunately, didn't materialize with the factory. Hence, Mark could only recycle the existing warheads lying in his inventory, increase the quantity of fissile materials, improve the efficiency of the implosion mechanism, and eventually increase yield. But that also decreased the energy conservation rate in the process. Without any assistance from fellow researchers, it was a tough job even for someone like Mark. But then again, since he wasn't in a hurry before, he was taking step by step. But Lu Zhen's birth has changed everything for him. Mark suddenly decided on increasing the time on research to prepare against even saints. Once this is completed, he will start working on the Song II variant, which will have a lighter payload, increased range and speed, so that he could deploy antimatter warheads. With a few antimatter warheads in his inventory, Mark knew that it was a surmountable task. Hence, he had to master the antimatter attribute staying dormant in his veins. But first, making Song II missile resisting to extreme conditions is important. As a part of it, he sought his sister's help, who was glad to help him out in any way she could. As the red skis returned to normal in the testing zone of the factory, Shang Jiao used her ice manipulation to first create a powerful snowstorm in the surroundings. Mark's Rank 9 robots manually inserted the missile in one of the barrels of the launcher, which was placed near the edge of the testing zone. This missile doesn't have any warheads. Hence, Mark was not worried about firing at Shang Jiao at all. She was standing around 2 km away, near the edge on the opposite side. Elena placed one of her forelimbs on something that looked like a USB port. A wire extended from her paw and inserted into the port. The screen lit up in red. Access granted, auto mode on. Elena locked the target. With her control, the launcher automatically moved, and the screen showed that it locked onto some dot. As an android, she was quite fast and accurate in locking the target. On the count of 3, Mark counted 3, 2, 1, fire. A missile fired from the launcher, generating a loud sound enough for Jingwei to momentarily close her ears in startle. Mark stayed on the spot as if he wasn't affected. He looked quite serious, based on his expression. The missile fired through low-visibility snowstorm, under degrees Celsius temperature. In a couple of seconds, it reached its peak height of only 100 meters from the ground and cut through the wind at supersonic speeds, traveling in a straight line for 2 more seconds, before start descending with an increased speed. Shang Jiao, who was standing there, was startled when the missile appeared before her eyes. Her body moved before her mind. Ice wall. A gust of cold wind erupted from her palms, freezing on the spot and creating a wall of ice within a second. The missile collided with the ice wall and exploded. The wall conjured by her managed to block the explosion but cracked all over. FK, it hasn't even been 5 seconds. She couldn't help but exclaim in amazement. However, Mark's facial expression darkened. Putting away the telescopic gun through which he was watching the scene, he shook his head with a sigh. This idiot. What happened, Papa? Jingwei asked him in curiosity. She was supposed to freeze it before the collision, not protect herself. The missile was destroyed and we have to make it once again. Elena answered her instead of Mark, who placed the weapon back into the inventory and turned around to walk away in disappointment. After a while, Shang Jiao caught up to her brother, who was sitting at a beach and looking at the sea in order to calm down his emotions. She apologized to him. Mark could only sigh in response and slowly slapped the sand beside him, gesturing to her to sit beside him. As the little princess sat down, Mark opened his mouth. I know that it is not your fault, but I was just frustrated. That's all. Manufacturing this new weapon is a time-consuming process. After a brief pause, he patted her head. Not to worry, I will think of a solution eventually. Anyway, your parents are missing you. Don't you want to return shortly and meet them? Xiao Shan's first-month celebration is coming up, and he still has yet to see his aunt. Well, Shang Jiao went silent, averting her gaze away as if she didn't want to answer to that for some reason. I want to attend, but I don't think I could make it. Because of my promise with the guardian beasts, I can't step out until I defeat one of the guardians. Come on, it was just an oral promise, not an oath you made to the heavens or applied a blood-soul oath. Moreover, defeating any of those guardian beasts is next to impossible when you aren't even in the same realm. Mark tried to convince her, but Shang Jiao seemed adamant on fulfilling the promise, even if she had to miss the event of her nephew. Not having any choice, he left the island, returning home through his teleportation portal. Once he was gone, Shang Jiao's icy wings erupted from her back, and she flew into the sea, traveling to a nearby island located just about 15 kilometers away. Unlike the Fujian Island, this one was quite green and was full of vegetation. As she neared the island, the sight of a majestic beast appeared in her eyes. Chapter 549.1 Shang Jiao and the Curse of Time, Part 1. The azure dragon, the white tiger, the black tortoise, the vermilion bird, and the anaconda king, which never stayed in pet inventory from the start, were shifted to different islands around when the factory was shifted from Mark's inventory to Fujian Island. As soon as she stepped onto the island of Dijon, Xuanwu, the black tortoise of the north opened its large pair of eyes that were bigger than even the tallest human, observing her silently from far away until she reached him. Unlike her usual playful or stubborn nature, the princess carried herself with a dignified demeanor of royal bloodline as she landed not so far away from the beast and walked toward the holy beast. Shang Jiao greets his grace. She half-kneeled before the beast and cupped her fists, lowering her head with her gaze fixed on the ground. The holy beast treated her the same way. It rose to its feet and replied in a human speech, "Arise to your feet, the inheritor of Blizzard Pegasus." As she stood up, the black tortoise continued, "State the reason for your visit, Ms. Shang." Shang Jiao raised her head to look at it. "I wish to confirm whether the upcoming 1-month ceremony of my nephew is not the doom you predicted." She looked dead serious when she said it. The black tortoise's eyes glowed for a bit before it answered, "The future looks still unclear to my vision." Shang Jiao silently stared at the beast for a few seconds as if she was thinking about something. Eventually, she opened her mouth to ask, "Tell me, do I really have any chance of making a breakthrough in 7 days? It is not possible, the giant beast nodded. Just as the princess became crestfallen, the former added, unless you accept your destiny. Shang Jiao's facial expression hardened. She couldn't help but clench her fists but managed to control her emotions and firmly replied, no, I will look for another way. In that case, you can be on your way. The holy beast sat down and closed its eyes, ignoring her. So much for a holy beast with knowledge of 10 million years. Shang Jiao, this time, couldn't stop herself from stomping onto the ground in frustration before walking away. However, a few seconds later, she was forced to halt her footsteps when the black tortoise's words echoed in the surroundings. There is one another way, but the journey will be life-threatening. After you get that power, your life won't be easier in any way either. Shang Jiao abruptly turned around. What is it? The black tortoise replied, the orb of time. Several days later. Lunaris City, Western Moon Kingdom. As the day of little Lu Zhen's 1-month celebration arrived, everyone in the palace became busy with attending to the guests. Kings and emperors of the alliance, princes and nobles of various empires and their wives, wealthy merchants and their families, scholars from all over the continent, and other important individuals with incredible strength who aren't exactly invited but still welcomed by the servants of the palace. While some of them are curious about the boy rumored to have been born with 2 circle realm cultivation, and remaining want to pay their respects to a demigod, Lan Jingyi, their primary reason for attending this ceremony is because of the auction that's going to happen on the next day. One of the few things announced is the legendary pill, Stat Pill, that permanently raises one's realm even if they are in 8 circle realm, a potion that instantly gives the strength of a supreme being, Peak Potion. A robot with the strength of a legendary realm expert, rank 8 robot. A flying metallic puppet that has various abilities, EC-665 attack helicopter. A warship same as the ones owned by Eastern Sun and currently ruling the seas in their vicinity. And most important of them all, the legendary sword of Lyteres, one of the 9 recorded heaven-grade weapons in the history, celestial grade. Of the 9, only 5 surfaced so far. Naturally, people are excited to own it. Not to mention, the Sword of Light is also known as the King's Sword and has a mythical status. Everyone who held it became an emperor, and various princes are determined to acquire it to ascend the throne of their respective empires. Mark originally didn't intend to sell it. The system left it with him before it left in Alan's body. However, he was worried about passing it to his son if it stayed with him. Mark was told by the famed fortune teller that his son has the destiny of a king, and he merely wants a peaceful life for Lu Zhen. It could be seen as overthinking, but it is what it is. With this, Mark also planned on making a statement that he was not interested in power. The allies would be happy with such a move, or so he convinced himself with. But the real reason for this auction is simple. He wants to amass a large fortune and use it to buy materials aggressively to ramp up production. For that, he didn't even hesitate to sell his precious attack helicopter. If there was one thing that became better with the disappearance of the system, it is that the items previously bound to his soul are no longer bound, as the medium of that connection has gone. Back to the present day, in the grand hall of the palace decorated with symbols of lotuses and banners with blessings and poetic couples on the walls, Mark and Song Yue, alongside their baby, were seated as the hosts as the guests were meeting them one after another. Some of them blessed the baby with materialistic gifts. Scholars displayed their knowledge by reciting poems or gift calligraphic scrolls that mostly linked to the baby's gifted potential, longevity, prosperity, etc. None of the gifts presented impressed Mark so far, but he nevertheless thanked them while constantly putting up his business smile, while cursing in his head of how miser these rich folks are. It went on for a couple of hours before the feast was announced. Hundreds of servants flooded the hall with dishes as ladies emptied the hall to go into separate sections, following the customs. However, before the plating has ended, the party is interrupted by the arrival of an old woman entering the grand hall, attracting the attention of experts in an instant. First of all, it was a woman intruding into the men's feast. Secondly, she turned out to be a supreme being. Lastly, she seemed like she was either not in a good state or she was possessed by a ghost, based on her wobbling state. Mark was casually conversing with King Shen Niu when it happened. However, before they get to notice, all of a sudden, Sylvandria appears out of nowhere beside him and whispers to Mark, "Be careful. I sense a beastly aura from that woman." Mark swiftly turned his head to look at the uninvited stranger. He furrowed his brows, feeling like he knew her. Even Shang Fu, who was seated beside Shang, both thought the same. Being prepared for an enemy attack from the start, Mark quickly activated his god eyes to study the enemy. But when he did it, his eyes widened in shock. "Jiao Mei." His words echoed down the hall, taking everyone by surprise. The old woman forced herself to raise her head and shed a drop of tear. Zhenji. Chapter 550.2, Shang Jiao and the Curse of Time, Part 2. Shang Jiao. Nicknames: Little Princess, Emperor's favorite daughter, former President Lu's sister and Princess of the North. Species: human. Status: cursed. Age: 16. Rank: Cultivation, Peak 9 Circle. Bloodline: Blizzard Pegasus. Attribute: Ice Time Locked. Affiliation: Northern Phoenix. Description: the Princess of the Northern Phoenix Empire was the Master's biological sister, sharing the same parents. Her current body is in the state of a powerful curse where her life force is being depleted rapidly each minute. An unknown object has been discovered in her mindscape, which is likely the cause of time attribute and the curse. Mark rushed to her as soon as he confirmed her identity and grabbed her shoulders in worry. "Jiaomei, what the hell has happened to you? You were fine last week." "Zhenji, I need your help," replied Shang Jiao in a weak tone. Followed by the cry for help, she slowly started falling down on her back. Mark caught her. He quickly picked her up and left the grand hall without a care about the guests. Some were left curious, some were offended by his act as he didn't even apologize, some were understanding, and some acted as if he didn't matter. Fortunately, Shen Niu acted quickly, replacing Mark as the host, making sure that the grand feast wouldn't get disturbed. As Shang Wei was a king and one of the distinguished guests at the events, he was forced to stay there to converse with others. After a while, in one of the guest rooms, Shang Jiao was seen lying on a bed in an unconscious state, and Sylvandria was trying to diagnose her condition. Mark and Shang Fu were standing on the side with troubled expressions. Soon, the thread of divine energy that invaded Shang Jiao's system was expelled from her body, startling Sylvandria for a bit before she took a deep breath and turned her head to look at Mark. It is the work of a powerful ancient artifact stuck in her mindscape, which appears to be too powerful for my divine energy. For now, I reduce the curse by sealing her cultivation, but it is nothing but a temporary measure. Her tone was quite serious. She then got up and added, "There's also something you need to know." "What is it?" Mark furrowed his brows. Sylvandria answered, "When I was probing her system, I sensed something strange inside her body. She has a spirit core." "A spirit core?" Shang Fu and Mark looked at each other in surprise. "But that's impossible," Shang Fu cried out in shock. His reaction was not surprising, considering the fact that spirit cores only exist in the bodies of beasts. Even Mark was shocked for once before remembering the data he saw earlier. He meaningfully nodded. "I guess it should be the work of that artifact, which probably housed an ancient beast spirit." As Shang Fu was taken aback once again and looked at his son, Sylvandria nodded in agreement. "That's the only explanation even I could think of." "So what should we do now?" Shang Fu turned anxious. "How to save my daughter?" Before Sylvandria gets to answer, Mark, who has already failed in removing the curse with a purification stone, voices his opinion. "Can a Saint Realm deity help her?" Sylvandria shook her head while letting out a sigh. "If you are referring to Lord Yuzheng, it won't work either. Unless you know of someone in God's realm, 13 Circle, you cannot remove this curse forcefully." After a brief pause, she added, "However, if you want to save her, there is a roundabout way, although it is going to be pretty expensive." "Money won't be a problem. What is it?" Shang Fu asked in a hurry. Mark, on the other hand, seemed like he had gone into deep thinking. Sylvandria looked at Shang Fu and replied, "She needs to consume a de-aging potion for her youthful appearance to return, and then needs an enormous amount of life force from someone. But that is still not enough. We also have to destroy her cultivation for good." De-aging potion and life force. Shang Fu's facial expression hardened at those names. That potion is very rare, only seen in auctions. Nevertheless, I will use all my connections to procure them at any cost. As for the life force, I will provide mine. Even if I die, my phoenix bloodline will resurrect me. But you are only in Sixth Circle Realm, Emperor Shang. You won't be able to survive this, Sylvandria warned him. However, the father of the girl seemed like he had already made up his decision. "I'm prepared to die for the sake of my child." His voice was so resolute that it kinda moved the elf. "No need. I know how to save her." Mark opened his mouth, surprising them. As they looked at him, they saw Mark taking a vial of transparent liquid out of nowhere and handing it to the elf. "This is the elixir of eternal spring I won in the grand auction. This will maintain her youthful appearance and vitality for as long as she lives." Shang Fu's eyes widened and a ray of hope could be seen in those eyes, but in the next second the light dimmed as Sylvandria commented, "I don't think this will work effectively on her. The curse was too strong for this potion. The best this elixir will have a temporary effect, just like the de-aging potion." "That's completely fine," Mark made his decision firm. He further said, "As long as it could save her for the moment, it will be worth it." Shang Fu stared at his son with a mixture of various emotions. On one hand, he was grateful and happy. On the other hand, he never felt so helpless and angry at himself. This wasn't the first time he thought it, but still, it has been a few months since he last blamed himself for stepping down from the throne. Meanwhile, Sylvandria smoothly transferred all the liquid in the vial to Shang Jiao's mouth, which slowly flowed down into her stomach and was absorbed by her body. The amount of liquid was actually enough for 2 people, but because of the current situation, the elf had to empty the vial. The effect of the elixir was instant. Shang Jiao's youthful appearance returned. Perhaps the elixir also nourished her cells. Shang Jiao's beauty peaked to the extent that it is tough to say who is more beautiful, she or Song Yue. After a while, leaving her on the bed with a rank 9 robot placed there as a guard, Mark returned to the grand hall to join the other guests. After all, he is the host, and it is not proper for him to be absent unless the situation is dire. Now that the problem had been solved for the moment, he peacefully hosted the banquet. Shang Fu also had to follow the etiquette of being a royal guest, and joined Shang Wei and Shang Bo, updating them on the situation. The next day, at the auction house, the guests with formal invitations as well as the uninvited ones, separated by their respective sections, took their seats as Chang Bo and Zai Mei were seen nervously standing there on the stage.